All right, hello, welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We're back today. We're playing Call of Cthulhu. We're playing through Eternal Lies, which some of you might know. It's not a Call of Cthulhu campaign, it's Trail of Cthulhu. But Steven didn't want to learn another system, so we're playing a Call of Cthulhu, and that's the story. Okay, yada, yada, yada. Insert banter here. You guys ready to go? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Speed running interest.
Question for Long, actually. Long, are you purposely clearing out your beard to reflect Patrick's state?
I wish I could say that, but no, I haven't shaved it in a couple days.
You know what? You get a Benny. Good job.
Wait a second.
Okay.
I haven't
That's how we
shaved in a
play
couple
Savage
days
Worlds.
either.
I'm sorry. What's that?
I haven't shaved in a couple days either.
Do you want something for that?
No, I'm just saying that I'm there with you.
I don't. Do you think you should get Bennies for just not having good personal hygiene, or I just don't really understand?
I clean it. I've got beard conditioner.
Okay.
So inquiring minds want to know. So does Long get like a point of luck for that?
Yeah, he gets a Benny. He gets a Benny. So next time we play Savage Worlds, he has an extra Benny.
You're going to be waiting a while on that one, aren't you?
I don't know about that.
Wherever we at. Whenever Tracy makes another game, that's what we're gonna do. What's everyone at for luck? What's Will at for luck?
I am at 43. I almost doubled today. I ended last session at 24.
Okay, very nice, very nice. Marie,
53.
ooh, you're getting close. Shyma,
46.
Okay. You're in the okay zone. Bev,
Yeah, that's like respectable.
I'm in the danger zone.
yeah, you are.
I'm 77.
Eye of Sauron is very much upon you. And if you don't spend that, bad times.
As
Bad
soon
times.
as I get the opportunity
Telling
to,
you.
I'm gonna
be like, hey, let me roll to see who I attack. Oh, it's Bev. The dice hasn't even finished rolling. Hasn't even finished rolling.
He's like, let me roll. It's Bev. Thunk of the dice after.
Right.
Patrick, where are you at?
About the same as Marie, 53 or 52.
Nice.
Okay. 50s is definitely the yellow zone. You're getting really close. Be careful. You get up into the 60s. I'm looking at you. That Bev is in the 70s. Like, look at Ashley, we can still see you. Like, the camera's still on. So yeah. You're in your 40s, you're fine. 40s are fine. 40s is green zone, you're good to go. Okay. You're a reasonable person. Reasonable person.
I remember
I don't know if
days
you've ever
in
called me a
Bangkok.
reasonable person before.
Yeah. I mean, categorically.
That's
But-
my proxy. That's not like just for you.
Yeah.
I think
Who
you
is
and I
in the 90s?
together
Like 80.
combined make
Yeah.
one reasonable person. I think that's
I'll
what
settle
it
for
is.
that. I'm good with that.
Somebody hit the 90s once, and I was just like, I don't even want to do this
That was me.
anymore. I quit.
And it all went very, very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I think if not for that luck rule, we would have had, I think, 2 additional deaths, right? I think we would have had probably 2 deaths. And I think we've
Yeah.
I think I know.
Shaman definitely would have died without that at least once, if not
Shaman
twice.
would have.
and Pastor Wood have died earlier than he ended up dying. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then
I was the
think
first one to use it.
Reused it
I
too.
did.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's
we
3.
were all Jeff of like 3 or 4 deaths at this point.
Yeah. I don't like to count them. Like, I'm not necessarily looking to get, for
We did
me,
just
the
count them,
death.
though.
I mean, when I say that, I'm not actively looking for them, but I just want the drama. And so, like, if you play in a Call of Cthulhu campaign that's lasting forever, and there ain't a few deaths along the way, are you even really playing Call of Cthulhu? I mean, come on. Seriously.
Sure.
I don't know why I'm doing a Beetlejuice impression. All of a sudden. I don't know. The Beetlejuice. All right, that's going to be my next character whenever I play something.
That's when
So
Kearns comes back. So that's his new voice.
That's his new voice.
Right?
All right. Let's get going. Last time around, we headed to Djibouti. And you all are hoping to find George Ayers, the professor from UCLA that was tied in with the Echeverria cult from 1924. And you're hoping to discover what exactly he's been doing in the region near Eritrea and Ethiopia. Bev, you also stumbled across some strange travel log that mentioned something about the Afar people having possibly a cleansing, some sort of ritual of cleanse or purification. It was hard to really tell. It was a very small little blip. But it was something that kind of raised an eyebrow, especially considering the itinerary that you had for George Ayers. We also spent a little time kind of flashing back to what you had been doing for the past couple of months, because last we saw you all, you had returned from Bangkok. You were in Arkham for the wintertime, and we were landing in Djibouti in spring. We learned that Will had started an illegal betting ring. It was promptly discovered, didn't take very long, by organized crime. And that was Steven's doing, by the way. Not me, so you can't even blame me. That was Steven doing it to himself. Let's see. Bev, you lost your job at Miskatonic University, so you sold your home. You moved back in with your dad. You had a little moment where you honored the anniversary of your mom's passing. You started to dig a little bit deeper into Ayers' research notes to prepare for this journey. Patrick, you tried to return to your barbershop, but at one point, the mouth that had grown on your forearm had tried to bite one of your customers, so you had to quit. You sold your stock, or you sold your share of the business to Peter, and then you kind of turned to drink and hard labor. And Patrick, who had up until this point been known to be a fairly clean-shaven, well-groomed guy, has let himself go and isn't looking too great. Has taken up drink. Marie, you left Arkham, spent some time in Boston. You went to some jazz clubs. And on the train back, you discovered a new passenger in your luggage, a cat that you named Joy Boy. And you decided, because Marie is extraordinarily responsible, to bring that cat with you on your travels across, the world and into what I think a 1960 study said was the hottest region on the entire planet. But hey, that's fine.
Sure did.
Yep.
Sure did.
I'm sure that's correct.
Marie did.
Before,
Not me.
in Zoom, they're
Marie
like, oh, the
did.
cat's going to be fine. Da, 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 da. I'm like, the cat is not going to be fine. The cat is in trouble. I'm worried about this cat. Okay. Let's see. What else do we do?
How before, though, you're like, yeah, getting a cat's a great idea.
I'm just trying for you all to be happy.
It's the drama.
Before
I love
make you sad, right? I like an undulation. If you're all happy all the time, that's boring. If you're all sad all the time, it's boring. But if you're happy, sad, that's fun. Let's see. Shyma, you took Janet's recommendation and you got your left hand amputated so that you could remove that monstrous growth, that mouth that had grown on your hand and was causing so much trouble. Surgery was successful. You also had some time to reconcile with your father, who kind of took care of you a bit. And then we landed. So we had those little flashback scenes. We landed in Djibouti. Janet apparently had arranged for Winston Pharmaceuticals, her company that she inherited from her father, to donate medical supplies to the French Foreign Legion, who agreed then to let you land the French-controlled airstrip. They agreed to let you land, and then the Legion also agreed to help shepherd you all a little bit during your time in the region, because it's a very dangerous place right now. On the airstrip, you met a familiar face. You met Captain Louis Moreau, who you had spent time with in Casablanca during New Year's just a few months back. Was not very happy to see Will, tried to get him arrested. Eventually, you guys talked him out of it. Moreau arranged lodgings for you all at a French-controlled hotel in the city near the ports and the train station. Gave you all like a Legionnaire driver, invited you all to dinner. You guys decided to do some exploring a little bit. Most of you did anyway. Bought some clothes that were more suitable to the terrain. Patrick had an incident where his mouth started to act up and spit bile over some fabrics. Nearly got into trouble, but Shyma and Bev and Marie kind of calmed the situation. Will, you tried to earn some favor with the Legion by cleaning stables before dinner. Something about pulling a shovel. It was weird. That evening, you all met with Moreau, Jean Dubois, and Pierre Lefebvre, who are the three Legionnaires that you had met in Casablanca. And so Moreau was trying to warn you about the journey, prepare you, but also try to get a better understanding of just what the hell you all are doing here. Like, it doesn't make sense, your group of people being here, Shyma missing a hand, like what the hell is going on? And you guys kind of half-truthed them like crazy. You're here on business, you hear something about extremist religions, something like, you didn't really ever tell him everything. And he kind of told you a couple things here and there. You asked about Bartolo Arcunia, who was a George Ayers connection years ago. He's a Spanish archaeologist who apparently there is a Spanish archaeologist. I don't know if it's the same one, who's kind of on a leash for the Italians that are kind of roaming around to various ancient sites. Also mentioned something about a volcanic eruption near Dalal, which was which was like the location of a dig site that Georgia Ayres was helping to lead 12 years ago, 13 years ago at this point. So lots of things. So ultimately, we ended up on you all agreeing with to follow Moreau's orders as you kind of, whenever he says to do something, as you travel across. And in a couple of days, you would basically take a caravan. And all of you would travel off into the desert across some of the very difficult terrain during a very historically intense time in this region. So before we jump into today, to the start of that, a couple days are going to pass. So we're going to say maybe 2 days, 3 days pass, because you guys need to sort of catch your breath, get some supplies together, etc. Did anybody want to do something in particular? Did anyone? I'm welcome to just flash forward to the start of our journey, but I wanted to give you guys a beat. Is there anything anybody would have wanted to do before leaving Djibouti? What do you think?
I think we're probably good.
I didn't have anything.
I didn't have
Yeah.
anything mechanical, but I did want to have a quick conversation with Patrick before we left.
Okay, sure. We'll frame it within the hotel that you all have been staying at. Maybe you find
Preferably
small...
a private conversation
Yeah.
in his room, if that would
Okay.
be okay, Long.
Of course.
The Hotel de la Mer Rouge is where you guys are at. All right, so yeah, we open inside the room, and I turn it over to you.
So Shyma will knock on the door.
Come in, it's open.
And she will kind of hesitantly go in, and she has a roll of athletic tape with her. It's like, Mr. Price, do you have a couple minutes?
Got all the time. We're all stuck here.
Okay. I know you still have the hand. It doesn't always help, and sometimes it doesn't help at all, but I wanted to show you how I was wrapping my hand, and it was just I was trained with hand wraps like for sparring and stuff, and so I kind of just made a slight change that, and it seemed to help a little bit with sleeping and things anyway. And conversely to where Patrick looks like kind of disheveled and maybe the sully puffy skin because of all the booze and everything, Shyma conversely looks incredibly clean and pressed, like she can't stop showering, like they don't make water hot enough to get that I get Kokrak off of her. So she looks very put together right now. But either way, she has come in with the intention of kind of showing you how to wrap, and she is doing that on your hand that doesn't have the mouth. And sort of while she's showing you how that's done, she's gonna also say, I don't know if you remember, but a lot of occult and ancient religion and that kind of thing and rituals are very interesting to me, and I've done a fair bit of reading about it, and it's actually part of the reason I even chose to go to Miss because it's because they anyway, whatever. I know we're here to find a cleansing ritual for your hand, but I haven't read a lot about that kind of thing, but they're not easy generally. Like sometimes they kill the host, sometimes it requires items that you might have to source that might not even exist. And all of this is assuming the ritual even exists to begin with. I'm not suggesting we shouldn't look for it, because obviously we should, but I just I had a fairly I still don't know if the mouth is ever going to come back, but I wanted to let you know that the amputation is not, it's manageable in at least.
It's all right, Shyma. Getting here wasn't easy. Do you regret it?
I don't know if I regret it. I feel like I'm holding people back.
Holding people back. Look at me, being selfish.
No, if you can have both, I don't need. And she kind of stops herself because she's like, maybe I do need both hands. And she had started to, and she'll kind of stop and continue. I think you need both hands and no mouth to be a barber.
Oh yeah, I've come well aware of that. But thank you for this. I don't know how long it'll hold it back, but it'll help.
It does help. It just buys you an extra hour of sleep at night, and that was a lot for me. That was it. I don't really have anything
Okay,
else. I'm
yeah.
happy to fade with
Yeah, we'll fade
going
out of that.
out to rap.
And we hear the sounds probably of the mouth acting up, but it's narrative. We don't have to get too precise with it right now, but it's definitely there and aware. Anybody else have anything that they would look to do before you head out?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Fair enough. So then a few days pass. We'll put your departure at April 10th as you arrived at April 7th. So we'll say maybe 3 days have passed in terms of anyone who's keeping track of the calendar. And we open up on this morning, early morning of April 10th. The sky for the bay is still dark. You can see the stars are just beginning to fade behind rising heat of the day. The port is quieter than the times that we've seen it when you've gone shopping during the day, but the caravan quarter is already alive. We can hear the sounds of camel bells clinking, muffled voices bargaining over various loads. We hear the soft scrape of crates and such as they're dragged across packed earth. We can see Issa herders in these layered white robes. They're cinching saddlebags and adjusting ropes, and basically a half-light sort of situation. There's a Yemeni merchant that's like finishing a hushed prayer and then unlocking a storeroom. The air itself is dusty. There's the smell of like dung and a sharp tang of like boiled coffee. We can see an array of people beginning to sort of disperse from these various buildings and other places where they have been staying. A group of like Indo-Arab like traders conversing beneath an awning. You can see tunics clean and pale against an otherwise kind of dark but lightening sky. And we settle at the front, or I should say maybe at the rear of the Hotel de la Marouche, where you have been staying. And we can see your Legionnaire contacts, Moreau, Dubois, Lefebvre, and we see a few others as well. And we see some porters, local, and they all seem to be loading up these 3 trucks of decent size, these these large kind of all-terrain vehicles with almost like a convertible style ceiling to them or rooftop to them, which they pull back to lift up and load what looks like, in some cases, supplies. You can see these huge like kind of tanks and tubs of like water. You can see some trade goods as well, some spools of fabric, some of those crates that you saw, the medical supplies, some salt blocks and things as well. And they're doing their best to situate it. And that's when all of you, in your whatever attire you're in, you descend down, come outside of the hotel. It's still dark. Sun's not fully up yet. And how are you all? So 2 questions, and some of this is flavored. Some of this is just, I want to know for moving forward, but how are you all dressed? And in terms of like your gear, you all were tasked with packing very light. But you've had some time the last couple of days to get any supplies you want. But even still, there's not like a ton of room here. You can see that there are 3 drivers that Moreau has tasked with driving these trucks. And then he explains at a certain point, when you switch to camels, those drivers are going to turn those trucks around because they don't want to leave them out in the middle of nowhere. So you can see that there's like about 11 of you. There's also one man that you can tell is kind of off to the side. He is kind of a local afar man. You can see he's got like a long shirt that goes down below his waist, got some stripes. It's mostly earth tones, but like with one little bit of sash, like of color that comes through. Occasionally the legionnaires will come up and say something to him and he makes a comment, but you're out of earshot. So what I would like to know, what are you guys wearing? Like, how do you look in this moment? And is there any specific piece of equipment other than the obvious stuff, supplies, weapons, I get that. Is there any particular piece of equipment that you would be ensuring goes on this trek with you? So Will, we'll start with you. What do you look like?
So Will, for the most part, his outfit was already inspired by his time in the Foreign Legion. So he's still wearing that same basic outfit, but he's put on over it this white, like, robe garment style thing. I don't know what it's actually called, but kind of Lawrence of Arabia-esque, just so it'll reflect off the heat and keep a lot of the dust off and protect him there. And he's also wearing some fabric around his head as well to cover that. As for equipment, he would be bringing like double the water that he's supposed to, because he spent time in the desert and he didn't necessarily like spending all that time in the desert. So he wants to make sure that he can drink just as much as he wants. Like, he's still going to ration, obviously, but he wants to make sure that he's got even more than recommended. So like we're planning on X amount of days. He's bringing for double that, or as much as he can carry. I mean,
so you would probably, like, your personal stash, you would probably go through pretty quick, and it would be it'd be at waypoints, which is where, like, you're traveling to. Like, the whole idea of the caravan is you don't travel just randomly. You travel and you hit like known wells and known waypoints and stuff like that, trading posts and things that might be built around cisterns that have been crafted by the French, or just like places where there is a known water source, right? So like you would, and that's where you would be regularly refilling.
I guess what I'm trying to say then is that, like, if it's recommended that you would bring 2 canteens a person, he's got 4.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. He's that guy. Okay. So you come down, you see all of these folks kind of packing everything up, and it's a tight fit. You get some strange stares from Moreau and from the others, and they kind of look at you. You hear the sounds of chuckling, and you look over and you can see that Lefebvre and a couple drivers are kind of looking at you. They're speaking in not in French. You can't quite make out what they're saying, but they're definitely looking at you and chuckling a little bit.
I take a cap off one of the canteens and raise a toast to him and drink.
Okay. All right. Behind them, you can see that the eyes of the afar local, the guide that Moreau said would be taking you all. You can tell now that he is staring at you as well, not laughing, however. We'll go to Marie. So Marie, what is it that you look like, and are there any specific equipment callouts that you want to make?
So Marie had, kind of done the shopping over the last, a few days back. And so she definitely has sort of like, kind of cloth to wear over her head, kind of give her face some shade. She is redhead. So redhead, pale skin. And usually, especially when we were in LA or places like that, she would have, arms exposed, legs exposed, whatnot. But she is definitely kind of fully covered. She's expecting that we're, as we were told, we're going to be outdoors. And so definitely kind of loose fitting, long sleeve, long skirt pant. I would say that she's probably kind of planning that the outer layers may not get changed particularly often. So, she's kind of packed more of like, kind of like undershirt things that she can change, kind of on a regular basis. I would say over the last couple of days, she's probably enjoyed any kind of like bath or something that we would have like in the hotel, because this may be the last one for a bit. But she is going to have, a bag with her, and that she's got Joy Boy and then all of her accoutrement for Joy Boy. So she's got like a little saucer and some food, and like that's what she's got primarily, in addition to obviously like her knife and gun and whatnot. But yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So you're bringing your cat and some cat materials, some cat supplies with you. Are you doing this without trying to notify anyone? Like, I mean, obviously your fellow investigators would know. Are you doing this to try to like not? Are you trying to do this under the watchful eye of like the Legionnaires, the Porters, this, anything like that?
If I remember correctly, in the last episode, I do believe that Moreau, or at least one of them, is aware that Marie has a cat that she has traveled with. So I think going off of that, like, it's not that she's like carrying the cat in her arms when we're loading up, but it's been known before. I think from dinner a few days ago that she does have a feline companion.
Got it. We see Will being wasteful with water. We see Marie bringing down this cat and maybe like making sure it's in place as you load these an extra bag into a bench seat, the back of one of these trucks. There's not a ton of space because you can see the final row is like supplies have been stacked up. Some have been tied to the back of the truck itself. And you just see like shakes of head and chuckles, and you can tell that like people think this is a bad idea, but nonetheless, they let you do it because you're a main character. Okay.
Everyone but Marie thinks this is a bad idea.
Yeah, basically. Okay. And then Shyma, same questions. Like, what do you look like? And are there any specific equipment callouts that you want to make?
Yeah. So, she's wearing the same stuff she was wearing in the plane, which is, she knew they were coming here and was pretty certain that they weren't going to be able to find things in her size. So she kind of just stitched some really simple kaftans, and so she's wearing like one, and she has a couple more that just like long tunics kind of thing, sort of dress-ish that she's made.
It's a very common style too, the long tunic that you mentioned.
Which is perfect. The one additional piece is she does have a fairly ornate looking silk scarf, which was one of her mom's saris, and she's made a silk scarf for like if it gets cold and that kind of thing, that she has very specifically for equipment. Like she can't stop showering, she also can't stop working out for reasons that she won't articulate. And so she's got like a couple of like travel weights that she uses for curls and that kind of thing. And she's got a multi-purpose pocket knife. And she has like 3 or 4 notebooks and pencils because she generally takes a lot of notes anyway, but she's pretty convinced they're going to come across a lot of very interesting things and she wants to be able to document them.
Okay.
And I think that's it. Thank
You
you.
hand your, like one of the, we'll say like Dubois like greets you, gives you a big grin, and offers to grab your bag so we can situate it in the back. And as you hand over the bag, it just drops like heavier than he thought it would because of the weights.
Sorry, I forgot
Looks at you a
those
little
were there.
And he's and then he picks it up and he kind of shakes his head a little bit, but he's he's polite about it, and he places it into the back of one of the trucks. Okay. Bev, you guys are such.
I'm so sorry. Also, the black
such
stone.
tourists.
I'm so sorry. The black stone that we found in Savannah that looks like it was broken off of a
from Henslow's
statue.
lockbox. Yeah, Henslow's
Yes,
broken stone. Absolutely, good call out. Okay, Bev, what about you? What do you think? It's very important.
Bev also went shopping with the
notes.
girls, so she does have some of those long tunics and stuff. But she
Okay.
also just has like her general outfits that she would wear on like an archaeological expedition. So it's just
Mhm.
like a long linen button up, not necessarily the most practical things. And then she's got this like wide brimmed hat, and
I love it. Yes. Okay.
she has her
This is your eat, pray, love phase. This is you got your
Kind
outfit.
of. No, it's I'm thinking more like a little wider, like Brendan Fraser, the Mummy, kind of
Hell yeah.
like leather
Oh, so like an Indiana
felt
Jones
hat.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look,
And,
Steven's so mad right now. He's so mad. He's so mad.
I
He's
can't
a-
even
the
unmute
vibe.
fast enough.
But really, the only like particular things is she made sure she has like a compass on her.
Okay.
She has binoculars, and then she has stuff to take notes, and then the notes she has on Ayers.
Okay, so you brought Ayers' research. Okay. And then you brought basically notebooks and stuff. Okay, good to know. All right. All this has been documented, has been logged into evidence. And then finally, Patrick.
Yeah, I've got a mix of Western and Ethiopian dressing. So I've got regular slacks, dress shirt, but then on top of that, I've got the new robes I bought, and then the little like a shawl for sun protection.
Okay.
And I've
How are you trying to generally obscure your forearm wrist area?
Yeah, hopefully just a bunch of layers covering that section would keep it
Okay.
as quiet as possible. So I've got the bandages, the tape, and
Okay.
then maybe on top of it, even a glove.
All
And
right.
then on top of that, usually it's under the robes that I'm wearing. So just as many layers as possible on that side.
Got it.
Then I've got maybe even sun goggles to protect from the sun and the sand even.
Okay. Like tinted, almost like pilot goggles kind of deal,
Yeah.
but like tinted. Okay. Got it. Yeah. None of
And-
this is stuff that you guys wouldn't have been able to acquire
Sure.
either here or prior to your travel here.
And then specifically make sure I got some cheap booze on me at all times.
Of course. Oh, there's a whole truck dedicated to cheap booze. No, for sure. You're hanging out with the French. It's not cheap booze. It's expensive wine. You're just gonna drink one. I guess you're gonna die like 2 days into the journey. Okay, fair enough. So, as you all kind of get yourself situated, Moreau and the other legionnaires that you know come over, and they kind of make quick introductions, and you can tell that this is more just for being polite. He's introducing the different drivers. You can see like there's a kind of wiry man in his 40s, sunburned like crazy, like it looks almost painful, but it doesn't seem to be bothering him. Introduces him as Henri, who is one of the drivers. You can tell that he is his hands are like kind of covered in grease, and he's a mechanic as well. You've got Salim, who is like an Algerian man, probably in his like early 30s or so, is driving one of those as well. There's a man that you all recognize as the guy who is driving you around in town, Tomas, Polish man. Doesn't seem to speak French very well, but recognizes you, etc. And they all kind of take up positions in the driver's seat of each of these vehicles. Then at one point, you can see as the fireman, the local, your guide, comes over, and he's just kind of taking stock of each of you. And like Moreau mentions, this is Jerome. He does not speak, he speaks a little bit of French, but does not speak English. And he will be helping ensure that we go to the right places. So, and you can see no smile, nothing. He's we put him probably in his 40s or so. You can see he's got he's not wearing like any. He's got this, like, again, one of those long tunics and like this wrap around his shoulders. You can tell he's got like no shoes on. He's just sort of wrapped them up with cloth. But he just kind of nods as like Moreau calls out each of your names. And he just kind of nods at each of you. And then he turns and he says something to Moreau in a language that none of you are familiar with. This would be Afar. And Moreau's like, he says we should get going. The sun is about to rise. If we want to get any progress before midday, we should leave very soon. Are you sure you have taken everything you need?
Let's get on board.
Okay. So you all load up. So the way it's going to work is like each vehicle, you have the driver, and then you have one of the Legion guys up front, and you can see like almost like kind of spotting and such. And then in the back, and like the row immediately behind, a few people are crunched together, and then there's like gear and stuff as well. So you guys aren't all in the same car together. You're split up here and there. We don't have to be too precise about it, but just know that you're always going to be kind of split up. You probably only have one or two at most people that you would know. But your Legionnaire friends are perfectly chatty to talk. Eventually, with everything kind of loaded up, like you see, Moreau is like the last to get in. He kind of hits the top of the truck. He's in the lead vehicle with Henri, the kind of the wiry mechanic guy, and the two of them sort of take off. And then you see the cars or the trucks all pull off. And there's not even the sun still hasn't quite risen, but you can see it threatening on the horizon to the east. The travel time is, for the first few hours is really is probably the lightest it will be. And that is what is sort of explained to you, is that you are really just sort of sweeping westward and southwestward, and then eventually you're going to kind of veer northwest into the direction that you need to go. Djibouti City, like you all have been in this kind of European quarter, so to speak, right? By the ports where there's build-up buildings and such. And you start passing through some of the outer regions, which are more lean-tos, and some cases are tents and such. And you can see there's a far greater presence of local folk. You can see those same kind of like Issa kind of light-colored robes and such moving past. And then you don't really see a major presence of like the Legion out here. It just doesn't really seem that way. No one's at all like threatening to you. You can see herds of like goats and sheep. You can see camels as well being led left and right. But eventually you find yourselves giving way from the gravel that you've been driving on quite often into this kind of hard, flat sand. And all around you, there's like some low scrub, but for the most part, it is very dry. And you kind of start heading westward for a bit. Once the sun comes up, you feel it. All of you feel it. You are packed into these fairly uncomfortable bench seats with the sounds of your gear kind of rattling around. And some of you might even have to be like 3 into the back of a bench seat. And so like the heat is immense. The windows are down to a degree, and so you're getting some air. But ultimately, like you're still feeling, anyone who's kind of in the center seat has the worst of it. You're just kind of crunched. So it's not the most like restful travel. But it's around midday when this initial sort of drive away from the city ends. You pass by for a while, like you are along the coast, but then eventually you continue to veer westward a bit more and away from the coast. And you eventually come to a stop at what looks like it's been built up. There's like these coral buildings of some kind. You can see there's like another vehicle that's here and a handful of camels, and you can see there's some people that are lingering around. And like you get out and there's all these like different lean-tos and tents that have been set up. And Moreau kind of pulls you off to the side, and he says, "We will take a midday break here. The heat will get to its worst. We will." And he kind of looks up at the sun, and he kind of looks down at like a pocket watch that he pulls out of his jacket, and he says, "A few hours here. I recommend you get a little bit of rest, if you can. Eat some food, drink some water, refill your." And he looks at Will. "Canteens, and we will travel again, and then we will go until after sunset." So this is kind of how it's going to work for like the first couple of days of this journey, where you're kind of like traveling before dawn through the morning hours, and then when the heat is at its worst is when you find yourselves in some kind of waypoint, some rest area. So what I want to do right now, just to kind of see how this works, is we're going to do a heat check. So there's going to be another mechanic going on during this chapter, like a heat track. So effectively once a day at minimum, in some cases more than once a day, you all are going to be required to basically roll a test to see how you're faring against the heat. This could be modified by a variety of different things, but for right now, we're going to keep it simple. All of you can either roll a contest requiring a hard difficulty, or you can roll a survival test if you have a desert specialization, which I think Will is the only one who would have that. Either one of those things would be fine at this midday stop.
I'm going to take a bonus die.
Yeah.
While people are rolling that, Jeff, I did just want to ask kind of a mechanical question. So we've spent a couple days here with some French folks. So can we implement kind of our house rule around learning languages with French? If
yeah.
we've been kind of
For
talking
French,
to our French Legion folks?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Nice.
Yep.
Thank you.
I passed with a 29 under 40.
Okay, you're good to go. You're muscle memory, maybe, whatever it might be, or maybe it's the extra water.
Extra water.
Who knows? Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to go around the horn and make it easy. Marie, how did you do?
20 under 50, which is a hard con.
You passed. Okay, so Marie,
Yeah.
you passed yours as well. So
Nice.
Whatever. I'm not sure what you would attribute it to, Marie. Good genes, maybe. Spend some time in New Orleans or the South or whatever. Who knows? But you also seem to be having
she's also never had a ton of money, so she's definitely hasn't been in places that she's not used to being in hotels and places that have any amount of even early climate control types of things.
Okay. Shyma, how did you do?
I failed with a 74, but I'll spend the 39 luck to pass with the hard.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
I just
wow.
got 39 luck from Shyma right off the bat.
Yep.
Bam. She's
So
in
down
danger.
from 46 to 7.
I didn't even have to ask if she
gosh.
did it. She's
Nope.
below the 30 threshold. Now's the chance. Bev, how did you do?
She's below the 10 threshold. That's
Yeah.
real bad. That's real bad.
But I didn't get a heat stroke.
There's
I
a
rolled
track.
a-
So it gets worse and worse.
29 over 50. I spent 4 luck to get the hard success.
You pass. You hang in there as well. All of you are doing very well. Shyma is probably, maybe it was you overexerted yourself during break where you were doing some curls.
I think
maybe
so.
that's
That sounds
what-
right.
What made it a little bit sketchy for you for a while, but once you took a little time before you guys got back on the road again, you were able to cool yourself down.
I'd
more.
really like to think that somebody else caught on that Shyma needed a break and some water.
Yeah. So yeah. Pierre comes over. Or no, we'll say Jean comes over and he's like, you probably should not do that. You need to conserve your energy during these parts of the day. You will be expending it even if you do not realize it, just to keep your body cool later in the afternoon. We still have many hours left to travel today, and the terrain will only get more difficult.
Okay. And she'll stop kind of confused that for multiple reasons, but
Do not get me
she'll
wrong.
stop.
I understand I appreciate and admire one who spends so much attention to conditioning. However, there is a time for training, and there is a time for attention.
All right. Thank you.
When we return to Djibouti, I will show you where it is the Legionnaires exercise. We have a facility. You will find
And
it.
she kind of straightens up and gets like visibly kind of, really? Would that be okay?
Of course. So assuming we all survive, of course, yes. When we return, I will be more than happy to. It is a wonderful place.
I'll stop if that will help you survive it.
It will help you survive, but it will help all of us survive as well. Because if you were to, become ill, and you could perhaps cause difficulty for the rest of us as well, as now we have to ration our water differently. We have to expend additional energy in ensuring that you travel, or we leave you to die on the side of the road. I am kidding. There are no roads. Anyhow.
and she will laugh at his joke.
And you can tell he's just joking. Okay, it's weird, morose soldier humor.
Which she appreciates.
And then Patrick, did you fail?
Yeah, I rolled an 85.
Okay.
Does a regular luck or regular success help at all?
No, it's
Instead
not
of a
gonna
fail.
help.
Okay.
If you're using con, are you just using your contest? Are you just
Yeah.
checking con? Okay, so if it's just your pure constitution, you would need a hard success.
Okay.
So all this means is that your heat level goes to 1. And what that means is that you're going to have a penalty to all physical skill and attribute checks until you can revert back down to your to 0. And there'll be ways to do it. So like literally, like tonight, if you rest later tonight and you're in the shade, you'll reset. You'll probably be fine. But if it gets really, really bad, like there are increasingly bad penalties that might happen. But for right now, you're just feeling a little bit, Patrick. Maybe it's the clothes because you brought some of the clothes from like New England, and maybe that's what it is. And you have to de-layer, and you have all those extra layers because of you're trying to have that protection for the mouth as well. Okay. So eventually, I just wanted to do that once so you kind of understand the mechanics, but that's going to pop up from time to time. And so every day you're going to be rolling those, and occasionally you might be rolling more.
Good. It's
all
super interesting because it's going to be really hot. And because I'm
So-
sure everyone was super curious, Marie has learned a grand total of 5 points of French in 3 days
Look at you.
because
you-
my rolls were not great.
Yeah. You look over to the corner, like where Maria is sitting down. She's speaking with like the shorter Pierre, who's like who's trying to explain various. No. It is a U. It is a U. It's not an It is an U. No. U. No. U. U. Sacre bleu. And he kind of. You can see he gets visibly kind of puts a bit. Begging your pardon. I apologize, but I thought as a singer you were capable of making a variety of sounds, but apparently is just not one. We will
She,
work
like,
on it. We have
Learned
many
a
days of
very little
travel.
bit of Spanish and a very tiny little bit of Thai. And like, she keeps trying to say the wrong things.
Okay. So you all eventually, probably not even realizing it, some of you maybe doze off, have like a little kind of siesta, so to speak, as the sun beats down. You can see that the drivers are constantly making sure, like at each stop, to check, like they're checking fluids, they're checking tires, they're checking everything. And so Henri and Salim and Tomas, you can see all of them are kind of getting at. None of them are very talkative. The whole while, like the Afar guide, you can see he usually he lingers for a bit and then he kind of disappears from you, and you can every now and then you just see him kind of pop up at the corner of your eye, kind of talking with this group of travelers, and he's never talking to like other Frenchmen or anything like that. He's talking with locals as well. You can see there's some of these are like salt caravans, people with camels. They have these huge blocks of salt kind of like strapped onto the back. Others you can see are just like shepherding some goats and such through the area. But eventually, you all eventually get woken up. If you were sleeping, you get loaded back into your vehicles and you continue on the day. And as you're traveling, like you can tell it's extremely hot. Like any of you that are sitting by the windows, you can already see if your hands were exposed, like this reddening or this darkening of your skin just from slight exposure. Every now and then when you look off at the horizon, whether it's to the west or the east, or if you've managed to get a look to the north, there's just this shimmering that happens on the far reaches. Everything's so extraordinarily flat. There doesn't really seem to be great undulation in the route that they seem to be taking you. Periodically, when you look out, you can see that the earth itself is kind of cracked in places and the sun glints down, and you can see like salt reflecting off of it here and there. You see small craters and what looks like these like sulfuric pools and such that kind of kick up. And more than once, you just see this violent dust up of dirt and grit and debris as like these heavy winds. And every now and then you hear, like, depending on which truck you're in, one of the drivers just like curse and swears like, "Damn it, what is this?" And like the wind just kind of like it is such a heavy gust that it kind of pushes the truck just a little bit. You don't really see much in the way of buildings, or at least anything stationary, but occasionally you do. And it's mostly in like if you ask your drivers, or one of the legionnaires will explain that these are places that either were built up by some sort of French colonials for like sort of waypoints and resting. Other cases, it might be like the CMC, like they're like where they were going to eventually do like a waypoint for a split off of a rail line, but never kind of matured in some way. Eventually, though, night will come, or at least sunset will come, and you continue on for a short while after that. And it's maybe about an hour after sunset when finally you hear the sounds of the vehicles slow down. You look up ahead and you can see that there is a kind of the first vehicle begins to kind of slip down into like a small ravine, like this little wadi, and like as they start to get out, like they're unfurling these tarps, and they're kind of covering both the trucks themselves and kind of creating spaces as Moreau kind of directs all of you to sleep. Is anyone doing anything this evening before like you try to get rest for the night? Again, you guys have a lot of flexibility to narrate different things that you might be doing in the interim: reading, training, talking, whatever it might be. So does anyone have a beat that they're looking to do on their own?
Yeah. Kind of like Marie learning French, Will would be interested in talking to the guide and trying to pick up a few words of Afar.
Okay. So you can see that basics what happens, because he's riding in the same truck as Moreau, and they get out, and you can see that they have a little bit of an exchange. And Moreau seems to be the only one that really talks to him. You're not sure if everyone else just doesn't know the language, or if it's just because he's in charge. But do you wait for Louis to disappear and approach him on his own, or do you try to go up while they're still talking?
I think I would wait, at least in the first few days.
Okay. All right. So you approach him when he is he's kind of setting up a space for himself to sleep. What do you do? What do you say as you approach?
I would have a canteen of water, and I'd hello.
You kind of come up on him as he's sort of setting up this small little like mat for him to sleep in, and a little bit of a lean-to over top of it. And he kind of abruptly gets up, stands, he turns. He has like impeccably good posture, strangely enough. He's just kind of standing upright. And you realize now that you're close to him that he is pretty tall, in fact. He's kind of this tall, kind of wiry, slender man. He's certainly at least your age, if not maybe a few years older. Clean shaven, doesn't look to have any specific, maybe just some light scruff. But he looks at you, his eyes kind of like his eyebrow a little bit crunching a bit as he looks at you, and he looks at the canteen, and you can tell for a moment he looks past you, and you see him looking off into the distance to like where others are working or whatever, and then he looks back at you again.
I take a sip and, again offer. And I would be speaking French because they said he knows a few words of French.
Mm-hmm.
I would try not to use any like complicated words. I don't think Will knows that many complicated French words anyways. But I would offer the water. And even if he doesn't take it, I would say, I would like to learn more about desert life. And I would gesture to the tent. Any instructions on how to survive?
Give me I want 2 rolls. I want a French test first, because that will affect this. Even more than trying to communicate with Ankana and some of the folks that you met in Bangkok, this feels much more difficult. As like you're not registering like that he is picking up on the subtleties of what you're doing. His eyes are following you whenever you gesture, and he's clearly listening. Like he's attentive to you. But he doesn't really show signs of understanding like everything that you're doing. So give me a French test first.
All right, I'll take a bonus die for the French test, putting me at 31. I rolled a 7, which is I don't think that's extreme, but that's definitely hard.
You would need to spend 1 point to get an extreme success. I think it's a 6.
You're better at math than me, so I'll trust you.
Okay.
I'll spend it for the extreme.
Okay. All right. He takes the canteen. Is it like a strap canteen? Like it's like a metal tin and there's like a strap connected to it that you just wrap over?
Yeah,
like
I'd assume it has some sort of like fabric over it too, so it doesn't like get hot or anything in the sun.
He takes it and he drinks, and you can tell as he does so, he's like looking at you the whole time, his eyes, because he turns his head to the side, and he doesn't take a ton of it. He just takes a little bit of a sip, and then you see him put it over top of his shoulder as if you just gave it to him. And then
it's okay, I've got another. That's fine.
Yeah. And then he looks at you, and he kind of motions, like he's got these like two fingers that he kind of motions, and then he kind of points down again towards where the mat is, and he like tells you to wait, and then he kind of crouches down, and then you can see he reaches towards like where the mat has been placed, and there's like this chunk of this discolored but almost glistening rock as like some like moonlight is starting to waft down through the seams of where people have put a tarp over. And he picks it up, and you can see as he does so, there is like this tangle of these little black bugs that start moving around. And you realize as they start moving around, one of them suddenly has this tail come up on the back end, and he takes the rock and he just kind of smashes it a little bit. And you can see until it kind of splatters. And then he picks up the carcass of this little scorpion that he just killed. And he just holds it, points down to his mat and holds it, and then points to his eyes.
Make sure we don't sleep on living scorpions. That's good to know. I appreciate that.
And he just nods, and he goes back to he turns around from you at that point, and he goes back to establishing his area.
And I would just like awkwardly hang out for probably a little bit longer than he'd like offering help here and there. I'm sure he doesn't want it, probably getting in the way, but just trying to spend some time with him and see if I can pick up a couple words or something.
He literally doesn't speak. You
Try to
keep
get him
hanging
to
out
say
the whole
something.
time, and he never speaks. He just kind of looks at you, he kind of nods every now and then. He looks up at you. He definitely looks confused. Like the universal sign of face crunching down, like, what the fuck are you still here
Will's
for?
used to
But
that.
he doesn't say anything. And we'll fade out of that. Anybody else have a task or something, a little scene that you don't have to have one? It's okay if you don't have one. I'm just giving you an opportunity if there's something you were looking to do. This is also a good time to farm rolls for skill ups. So, which is what Will basically just got to do. So.
Bev saw that Moreau can speak afar. Go ahead, Steven.
No, I'm sorry. I was just saying I don't actually get skill ups because I've been spending luck and bonus dice and stuff anyway. So I'm just wasting all these rolls.
I also, with the extreme success, I didn't require you to do like a charm. I was going to have you do a social skill, but since you went for an extreme, I just kind of hand waved it. So you're good. Okay. So now you don't get any skill up. Bev, what were you going to say?
Since Captain Moreau knows afar, she's actually who she would approach for just assistance in like learning what he can
You can
give.
see like he like kind of directs his men between the two that you know, the three drivers, like who are, again, they seem to be very much focused on making sure the trucks are in place, but like the others are kind of doing like a quick little patrol sweep around, kind of a curiosity. A few of them are looking off in the distance, but you approach him after others have gone by and say, yes, Dr. Key, what is it I can do for you? Are you, do you need assistance?
When you have time, could you perhaps teach me some afar? I noticed you've been the only one who can communicate with our guide.
No, I'm very sorry. It is not my language to teach.
I see. Could you perhaps advise me then how you learned the language yourself?
Through listening and being respectful to the tribes who move throughout the region, ensuring that I am in no way, shape, or form construed as a danger to them. We as Europeans and Americans, we are very free with our culture, but ours is not as trampled upon as theirs has been of late. So I'm sure if over time Jerome sees the good in you that I clearly see, I'm sure he would perhaps have a conversation, but it will take time. I think understand before I have been here in the region for a few years. I left for a while for Morocco, and then I've returned as well. So I have labored here long, but as I said, it is not mine to teach.
Understood. What would be the best way to thank Jerome for assisting in our travels?
Do not be a burden, and ensure that you have. Oh goodness, this is a very loaded question. I'll be honest with you. Much has befallen his people of late, and I would say that as long as you show that you are a good person, that you are not violent, that you are nothing like the. You can see, like, he doesn't even really like saying this, the Italians. Then I think that would be enough for him to recognize the good. But it is not something that anyone can just do with a snap of the finger, I'm afraid to say.
No, thank you for your wisdom.
No one has ever called me wise before. Huh. Well, thank you, Dr. Key. Are you sure there is nothing you need? Assistance, your sleeping mat, is it in order in a good location?
Yeah, it's fine. Wonderful. You've been so helpful. I appreciate you.
Of course. I'm more than happy to help. Now, I must check in on my men. If there's anything you need, please just call and I will be more than happy to assist.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything that they're looking to do? Marie, you're nodding your head. What do you think?
Yeah, so Marie has sort of this little separate bag that she's got kind of Joy Boy in. And so she's going to kind of go over towards Shyma, actually. And I'm sure it hasn't gone
Here, take my
unnoticed.
You take care of it.
It's got heat stroke from being in a
It's
bag.
got heat stroke. What do I do?
I'm sure it wouldn't have gone unnoticed to Shyma that Marie has been a bit distant since Bangkok. She kind of took this solo trip out of Arkham and whatnot. And so she would come over surprisingly quiet for Marie in her approach. Like usually she's a little kind of more boisterous and, kind of eyes down a little bit. Shyma, would you care to pet Joy Boy?
I would love to. He's so cute.
He isn't he though? Just so adorable.
She will squish him.
And Mario kind of put the bag on Shyma's lap so that Shyma can kind of. He's just
He's
so
very excited. Doesn't realize this is a terrible idea. He's fully enabling you.
And Marie's still kind of looking away. She's, do you think Claire's having a good time at the Oriental, right? Probably.
Your other cat?
Yes.
Oh, of course. They were so nice there.
I hope she's doing well. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm fine. And she pushes her stump into her pocket. I'm fine. I'm fine. Are you okay? Is there something I can help with?
Oh no. I'm glad that you're okay. My father's a doctor, and he
I don't think I knew that.
didn't let me go to work with him very often. But I've never much liked wounds or any of those kinds of things. I went once, and the sounds of whatever it was, it just lingered with me for a very long time, and she just kind of shudders a little bit. So I've always been very squeamish around medical type things, and I should have.
I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. I was trying to keep it away from all of you.
You needed a friend, and I'm so glad. I heard that your dad took very good care of you, and I'm very glad for that.
Mr. Graz too. Mr. Graz as well.
Good. So I'm glad that hopefully that will be it for you, and you won't. And she sort of looks over to Patrick. Hopefully that'll be it for you. I sure do hope.
Miss Wood, you've never spoken to me like this. Is everything okay?
Oh yes. I'm just glad that you're doing better, and just wanted to say I'm sorry if it seems like I've been avoiding you when you needed a good friend the most.
Can I hug you?
Oh, of course. Of course. And she sort of like puts kind of Joy Boy kind of back in the bag.
And Shyma makes sure to have the stump as far away from her as possible and hugs her with her whole hand.
As the two of you embrace, there is a heavy gust of wind. And it's actually a surprisingly chilly gust. It's probably not like cold, but contrasted with what you've been. And it begins to sort of create some instability with the kind of nearby tarps, and you can see the dust is kicking up. Both of you make a spot hidden test. And I would say hard success because it's nighttime.
Spot hidden.
Yeah.
Joke.
Oh, that's a good
looks like
roll.
a
I
good
see.
roll.
Shyma's got a 16. Nailed it. Marie, what about you?
Better than me. I rolled a 49 under 72, which is not quite a hard success.
As the two of you are hugging and this cold breeze comes, Shyma, I'll say like so if you think of what you guys are in, you're in a kind of a ravine, like I think it's called a wadi, but it's essentially like a dry kind of riverbed ravine, like a low, shallow, like canyon, and like it's a good place to kind of, if you go out into it, you kind of dodge certain winds and stuff. And then they've taken the tarps that they have and they've put them over top of where they've parked the vehicles. Shyma, you notice back the way you came up the kind of ramp that you drove down, you can see in the distance as the stars are out, and they are almost uncomfortably close. You all have been spending a lot of time in Arkham the last several months, and it's been heavily overcast because it's winter time. But here, it's a bright, brilliant sky. Moon is out, stars are out, and there's just so many of them. And there's a sort of bluish glow, almost purplish in some way, that you can kind of see along the horizon. And you can see in the distance, maybe 100 yards at the furthest, like sort of the length of like a U.S. football field. There is a figure that is looking at you all. And you quickly, with your hard success, can see everyone's accounted for. Like you can see the various mechanics have kind of finished up their duties and like they're getting ready to eat some food. You can see the Legionnaires. It looks like maybe Pierre was cooking. You can see Will and Jerome are off. Will is harassing him. And then Bev and Patrick are here as well. But you see a figure like 100 yards off or so. And this cold wind hits you.
Is there any familiarity about them that I can make out from this?
You're 100 yards away. It's too far. It's too dark.
Yeah.
Like just the sheer fact that you saw it was all that you really get.
Probably can't even tell if it's a man or a woman from this.
No, not at this distance.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd like to imagine I'm maybe seeing this over Marie's shoulder.
Yeah.
And in the middle of saying sort of, thank you for checking on me. This is, and she's starting to say incredibly kind, but she kind of stops halfway through incredibly when she sees this person. She's like, and she kind of pulls back and sort of, there's someone up there.
Here, and so Marie will kind of turn and follow her gaze.
Yeah, she's
And
pointing
with your
to where
roll,
she's up.
and with Shyma directing you, you see it too. It's a dark shape. You just drove past there and you didn't see anyone. You don't see a vehicle. You don't see a camel. No response.
Huh.
Oh,
Do you
perhaps
think maybe it's somebody from Jerome's people who's just sort of keeping an eye.
Perhaps we inform Captain Moreau, and he can.
That's a very good idea.
Okay, call him over after he just finishes up his conversation with Bev. Bev like walks off, and you can see like motion over. What is it? Is there a problem?
I don't know if it's a problem, sir, but there was somebody up on the ridgeline that I'm not sure if there's additional scouts you're expecting or anything, but it's just someone I wasn't expecting to say. I don't know if it's someone you were expecting.
So he looks up and he sees it too as well. And then he kind of calls back, and Will, where you're at with Jerome, you see he suddenly gets up. Canteen's still over top of him, walks right past you, doesn't say anything, and kind of catches up. And the two of them now are where Shyma and Marie are standing. They're both looking outwards. And then like Moreau kind of calls over to Jean. Just go. Like those three men start moving up the ramp a bit to the top of the ridge.
I can help.
Perhaps stay a little further behind, and you can see they two of them have guns. Jerome doesn't seem to be carrying a weapon. At least if he is, it's hidden underneath some of the wrappings that he's wearing. But he gets kind of the top of the ramp where you had begun your descent, and they kind of look out, and that's maybe a halfway point. And he kind of calls out in like French. No response. And then you hear Jerome call something out as well, and there's no response. And Shyma, are you following?
Yes.
Marie, are you following?
Marie.
Shyma told you not to for whatever it's worth.
Yeah. And Marie sees Shyma moving, looks down that she's got bag with Kitty, so she's going to need to put him back in a safe place. So Shyma is kind of going off.
So
alone at first.
Boston.
Yes, Boston would be the safe place for Joy Boy to be. Yes. But Marie would, as she's doing that, see if she can catch Will's eye or Patrick's eye or Bev's eye, to kind of make sure that they see that Shyma is moving off alone after them.
Okay.
I think Will would have seen it anyways, just from the guy stealing his canteen and him watching that.
Whoa. You gave it to him.
I gave it to him. That's right. I have to accept that canteen is no longer mine.
You did not specifically say, here, take a sip from this and get it back to me in a language with which you can understand. You literally just handed it to him.
So I would start following Shyma.
Okay. Sure. Patrick, what about you?
I'll watch from afar.
Okay. So those of you that are following, and you'll see like they'll do like hand signals to keep anyone from getting too close as they want to stay out in front. And eventually, like they stop, and Louis and Jean kind of look at each other and just start laughing. And like Jerome continues to walk, and like they kind of like, it is just an outcropping. It is not a person. No, come.
Oh.
And as you get closer, Shyma, I mean, it looks. When I actually get closer to it, it looks like a body. It looks like you can definitely see what looks like arms. It's like this rocky basalt, like outcropping that's just grown up. You don't remember passing it, but it's there. It's got like its arms are there, and you can see it's sort of kind of a portly looking posture. But you can tell as you get closer, it's not really. It's not really a person, because you can tell like it doesn't even have a head. Sure. It's just like the shoulder and the stuff, and like arms are kind of out. Sure. And like the French guys are just kind of chuckling a bit. Do you mind place checks on you out here? It is there will be far worse things. Do not worry.
Thank you for helping us check. I'm so sorry. It looked like a person.
From afar, yes, it is, but does not appear that. No. And they start moving back. You see Jerome lingers for a bit. He just kind of looks at it. He's just sort of assessing it. He gets a little bit closer. This gust of wind again kicks up, similar to what was around you and Marie when you were hugging. And then he just sort of relaxes, turns, and kind of walks past you at that point. Kind of catching up. with the Legion officers as they go away. Shyma, give me an give me an idea test. You said it's I think it's an intellect test. Give me an intellect test.
Okay. Intellect is 17 under 60.
You realize standing here as you hear the sounds of like the laughter and the footsteps walking away, that staring at it, it has a familiarity to it. Like there's something about the shape of it. And you realize that you've seen like this figure before. Like it's probably just a coincidence. It's probably just some random growth of, some geological growth here that you just weren't happening to look for. But it looks like some of the sketches you remember seeing when you were going through Douglas Henslow's stuff, and you found that shard that you're carrying with you still. But you remember that in his notes and in his drawings that you have tucked away, not here with you, that you remember that there are these hideous drawings in it, like absolutely disgusting, horrible drawings of a madman. And that's essentially what it is. He's locked in Druid Grove. But you remember kind of seeing the shape of it. And you realize like there's like this, what you thought originally was an arm just kind of looks like this growth of rock that looks like some kind of appendage coming out of the side of a bulbous body. But you realize here, it's just rock, but nonetheless, it has that kind of vibe to it.
Can it reasonably be described as calcified?
No, it's basalt. It's very clearly basalt rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Do you kind of touching it to verify?
Yeah,
like
I'm definitely gonna touch it.
Are you touching it?
Yeah.
You're touching it?
Yeah.
Roll a luck test.
I wasn't trying to bait you into something bad. Sorry.
Well, listen, I have 7 luck. This is gonna go great.
Oh no.
That's a 42.
Would you want to spend 35 sand
I
to
do-
make that
I-
a success?
No,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You fail. You go up, you touch it, and as you do, that little appendage arm that you were talking about, it just crumbles and falls off. You just see it flop to the ground.
Okay. Is there anything from the location that the armor came off? Like, is there anything except stone or anything?
Just stone.
Okay.
It looks pretty. It honestly looks benign. It looks like just rock. Now that you're close to it.
If feels unsettling for reasons I can't really articulate, so I'd like to pull out my book and try to draw my closest estimation of what I'm.
Of course. Yeah.
And
So we'll
just
say-
document it.
Shyma, you take some time to sketch it. Was anybody else doing anything tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna try something
Patrick.
interesting.
All right, Patrick, what do you think?
I'll spend my time before sleeping staring at the night sky, try to enter like a state of self-hypnosis to reduce like more relaxation state to get rest.
I like it. Are you looking? So you don't actually have do you have hypnosis? And hypnosis is a skill.
Yeah, I don't know if
hypnosis.
at one point and it counts as having it or not.
You can roll it if you're trying to convince yourself. Absolutely,
Yeah.
You can roll it.
Oh goodness.
You
81.
want to spend 80 luck to make that a success.
If I had enough, I would, but I don't.
All right. So, Patrick, you find a secluded spot in your little camp area, and do you like sit on a mat? Do you kind of do the cross-legged thing, put your hands like the back of your hands, or actually it would be dangerous for you to do that.
Just lay on my
put your
back,
hands-
stare at the stars in the sky.
Okay. All right. If that's the case, so you try. Are you like speaking a mantra to yourself, or are you? Are you
Really
doing
just
something else?
staring, trying to like focus on the sounds that my arm's making. Try to
Okay.
black that out.
You're looking up, you see the stars ahead of you, above you, these bright, beautiful stars, this blue and purple sky. You hear the sounds of the mouth. Just chewing through the layers. And you start to see the sky kind of has that moment where the stars just seem to move faster than they should, like that montage suggestion of time passing. But for you, it starts to like just sort of swirl. You just see it swirls, and it swirls, and it swirls until you see like you're looking up almost at like a whirlpool. This like pool of dark water with these streaks of the stars now kind of reflecting something else, and around it goes. And you see like every now and then like something looks like it's reaching and pulling out of that swirl. And then you hear from your arm like this heavy exhale. And you look down and you see that there is something that is like either a furred leg or like a tail sticking out of the mouth of whatever it is that's on your wrist. This chewed completely through your layers, and some small like creature, not Marie's cat yet, seems to have been gnawed on by it. And there's this spill of saliva and bile on the ground. You look around, you see everyone else at some point is probably kind of either returned to their places, they're sleeping, they're eating, whatever it might be. But like you just have this moment of like you were away and you weren't paying attention, kind of got lost in it. And it had almost the the opposite effect of what you intended. And you just kind of left your guard down and it chewed through. And now it's fully visible. If anyone was looking at you right now, they would see your wrist gnawing on some kind of desert critter.
I would shake it off, clean it up as best as possible, get back and rest.
Okay. Quickly wrap it up again before anyone notices. Okay. So the first night then will pass. Morning will come. Shyma, you've made your sketch. Patrick, you've relayered yourself. Marie, you've wasted so much resources on your cat. Will, you're down to three canteens. But much like when you were in Djibouti, you were woken up by the sounds of the Legionnaires kind of getting ready. You hear the as one of the engines starts to thrum, and it's still dark out, no sun. But once more, you're up, and like you kind of get into the same positions you did before. Patrick, you can give me a. Let's see. It is a medicine or a first aid test.
I can do first aid.
Yeah. Either one of those would be fine. Or a con. You could also just do a con roll
92
as well.
was terrible.
Okay. That's really bad. Okay. If that's the case,
You
you
have enough luck for
don't.
that?
I do, but I'll skip on it.
You don't reduce your heat level for the day. So you don't go back to zero. You start the day still feeling overheated despite resting overnight. And so that penalty, you have penalties. It's just the physical stuff. So just physical skill checks, physical attribute checks. Okay. You guys get back in the vehicles. You can continue traveling for a while. The sun eventually comes back up. You look off and you can see like wind carrying dust. You can see heat. The wind is continuing to bombard and smash against the sides of your trucks. You can see the front windshields themselves are getting caked over. Like every so often, like they have to stop and like wipe them down. It just seems like everything's kind of getting too heavily caked. And then by midday, where you kind of do your planned stop, you find yourselves in what looks like structured shelter. So you look around and you can see that there's it's like coral, like limestone, kind of gross in some ways. And one sec. And it's like there's a faded sign at one point that says "Poste de repos," which you would know is just like a rest post. Like it's like a faded French sign. So you can tell this is something that they made themselves. And you can see the trucks kind of weave themselves like not into the series of buildings, but up next to it. And so the wind as you get out of the vehicles is just, again, continuing to just throw grit against you, against the trucks. You can see like it definitely at some point was some kind of caravan post. There's these low black stone walls that are ringing around the compound itself. Everything's fairly sun-baked. You don't see really anything like in terms of like vegetation covering it, but you can definitely see there's the attempt for some ceilings and tarps that are flipping around here and there. You are led to the center of this place, and you can see these old mats that have been dried through and sun-baked are giving some shelter. But you can see that there is this covered cistern that is half buried in the center. It's all patched in terms of the stonework and everything, and you can see it's locked. Like you can tell like there's like a locking mechanism, and Moreau comes over to it, and you can see he pulls something out and kind of goes through the process of kind of unlocking it. And there's a handful of like bits of scrub that have kind of grown in some of the corners and along one edge of the wall as you find some shade where you kind of sit around as much as you want. There's certainly what looks like iron posts that have been set up for tying camels, but you don't see anything here currently. It feels kind of claustrophobic in some way, kind of tight quarters as you move into this place, but quickly you're refilling your water, you're filling your, whatever it is that you've brought with you, Will taking more than his fair share. At a certain point, as you've been resting, you hear kind of an alarm shout out. You hear probably the sound of Pierre from somewhere up above. You don't even see him. He's taken up some kind of position. He's like, incoming. We have vehicles. They are not ours. And all of like the Legion guys kind of suddenly sit up and like they kind of go to these spaces and they look out. Is anyone doing anything at that sudden? Because they all look like there's a tension, there's an anxiety that just was palpable once that was called out. What do you guys do? How do you respond
I would
to that?
definitely get up and go to an overlook or something, like it's the same as the Legionnaire guys.
Shyma as well.
Okay, both of you can roll spot hiddens then. What about Patrick or Marie or Bev?
I would say that Marie's checking for Bev and Patrick and just, kind of doing a head count and just making sure that kind of she knows where everybody is and, kind of getting our little group together.
You see everyone here? Yeah, no one's accounting. I mean, like, I guess you don't see all of them because, like, but you can hear the sounds of their voices. They're calling back, like, but you can hear the sound of Pierre's voice, the sound of Jean's voice, and you can see the mechanics guys are like reaching into their jeeps and they're pulling out guns. And you can see they're kind of tucking them underneath and pulling a coat over it. Because normally they're drivers and mechanics, but you can tell they know what they're doing. They pull out a gun, kind of tuck it, and they start to follow Louis' voice. What about Bev or Patrick?
Could cover
her bag
in the shade and try to eavesdrop on if any conversations happen.
Okay. Sorry, Marie, what were you saying?
Oh, just Marie is going into her bag to find her gun. She's not looking to be first line here, but if things get real bad that it's needed, then she'll have it at the ready.
Yeah, Bev will be kind of like following after Captain Moreau, but at like a distance because she's curious as like who's approaching, and she's going to try and identify like.
If you try to follow him, he will turn immediately around and he will say, "No, away."
Oh, okay, and she'll stop.
Bev, it'll be safer for us here. Let them do that, and she kind of shows that she kind of has the gun, and she just kind of.
Do we think it's
waves you?
Do we think it's Italians?
I don't know, but if it is, I would much prefer for them to be dealing with that than us. And she kind of looks for a little bit out of the way slot for her and kind of Bev to tuck into.
And so you have all these like little half walls and 3/4 walls. There's no real ceilings, but there are these mats that have been baked by the sun. So you'd imagine they're very dry, and any amount of a heavy bit of wind would probably rip them free if it ever came through here. So you can find these little spots. Will and Shyma, how'd you do on your spot hidden rolls?
7,578 for me. A basic
Very nice.
success.
Okay. Will?
80 over 45. I got a speck of dust in my eyes.
Okay. So you have a speck of dust that's just tearing through your eyeball. You are now blind for the rest of the campaign. Okay.
I love this desert. That's going to happen.
You'll have to see an optometrist back in Arkham if you make it. So Shyma, you see two vehicles moving from the north. You probably guess. Did you have? Someone had a compass, but you would probably guess just by the sun, maybe northeastish, and they're coming down. They're moving at a decent pace. There's no trouble with visibility. Everything's very, like I said, very flat and sun-caked and everything. And you see these two vehicles coming up. They do not look like the French vehicles that you've been driving. And as they pull into like the flattened area, like right next to the black half retaining wall, you see the dust start to settle. And that's when you hear like someone say, "Italians," and like the door opens up. Will, if you're looking, and some of the others, you can see several people in black uniforms. Despite this crazy heat, they are still nonetheless dressed in these horrific black uniforms, and they get out and they have guns. And you see there's only one individual that looks different, and it looks local, looks possibly probably afar, you would think, dressed not like Italians, but instead like these dark wrappings, not fully black, but dark. And they approach and they kind of step up to like this opening where you drove your vehicles to, in that black retaining wall, the half wall. And you hear a voice like, "What is this? We are coming to get the water." And you just hear like this voice call out, "We come without trouble." And Patrick, you've been listening. You can roll a listen test if you want to try to farm an upgrade.
Yeah, well.
We used to do this all the time when we played Masks. Okay.
23, I passed.
The most random stuff we would
Hard
have to roll
success.
just to see. Okay. You hear voices of your various French fellas like, "Oh shit, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do?" And others are just like, "We cannot, no. Everyone calm down. Everything is fine. We are perfectly allowed. Everything is fine. We are friends. Remember, we are friends." And you realize like that last bit was like Louis saying that to everybody else, like Moreau. And he's like, and he calls out, "Yes, you are welcome. There is shade, there is water." And like he kind of calls out, and you watch as these like 5 uniformed Italian men, guns ready, like everyone's got like these bolt action rifles, and you can see they got like sidearms and such. And this other figure, they all kind of come through the main entrance that you all do, and like you're kind of all finding your own little spots in the corners. And they step in, and like one of them like takes like their hat off and just they look around, "Hello," with this like big kind of bright red face, like you could tell he's been out in the sun a lot. But is it bonjour is what they say? Yes. Kind of looking at all of you, and it's just one of these Italian guys.
Bonjour.
Yes. So and he kind of looks around at the array of people here. He's got Marie, he's got Bev, he's got Will. Looks fine. Look, Will probably blends in with the Legion guys, okay. But then I would say the other 4 are a little bit, not necessarily sore thumbs, but you look a little different, right, than what they're probably accustomed to seeing. And that's when you hear the sounds of like the boots coming in. Here comes Moreau. And like there's like this palpable tension. And you can see like not all of the French Foreign Legion guys have appeared. A couple of them are still not showing. We have opened the cistern. Help yourself. The water is quite cool. You are welcome to stay in the shed. What brings you so far south? He says. Like, this is Louis. And it's very difficult for me to go from French to Italian.
I was just thinking that.
Guys.
Like, that's a back
very
and
hard.
forth right there.
So I got to figure out how to do this. So give me a second. I I apologize. This is just how I get in character. Boppity boopy, boopity beepy, boppity boopy, boopity beepy. So,
To me.
boppity boopy. So there'll be like this little exchange, and you can tell commanding officer to commanding officer, the others kind of flank out. They come over to the cistern and start refilling, pulling out some water. You can see kind of loading up. We are just looking for just scouting around. And as you know, there are very violent resistance tribes out here who are have not taken kindly to our presence. So we are just doing a basic mapping mission. And he's like, you can see he's got this like sly grin on his face as he says it, because it's total bullshit, and anybody with even halfway decent bit of social abilities could probably. And so like, of course. And he's like, well, what is it all of you are doing here? We are merely trading. We have some goods that we are delivering. That is all. And like you can tell, like Louis immediately regrets saying that as the Italian guy. Oh, you are going to an outpost. Perhaps we will join you. We can. Very interested to see who in the area here is friendly. And anyone again with decent, you can tell Louis is like kind of gritting his teeth, like, but of course, we're more than happy to have company. And there's this terrible tension in the air, right? And anyone who's like standing next to one of these Legion guys, you can feel like they're doing the classic like arms up and like their hands like on their guns, right. Stuff like that. How are you guys reacting to this? What are you guys doing?
Being very quiet and just kind of watching. Like this is like, because he prepped us that there's a whole lot going on here, and so I mean, Marie would get the sense this is delicate. This is not the time to jump in and flirt and do something yet until like they figured this out.
I also think maybe we kind of like Shyma did get with the interaction of like witnessing other people being injured and stuff. So she knew it was close by. But I think maybe the rest of us, since we were within the influence of the French Legion, we're kind of in that lull of like, oh, we're safe. Like we don't have to really concern too much about the Italian conflict. And now I feel like this has just made it that much more real, and everyone is just kind of picking up on the stress in how do we deal with this. And Bev is just kind of certainly watching all the French Legion soldiers and like, how are they approaching this, and she'll kind of follow their lead.
Okay.
Will would also be quiet, but he would really want to be watching not the Italian guy that's been doing all the talking, but all of his men, like how they're acting, how how they're posturing, if they're like moving out to like certain positions or anything like that.
Give me a psychology test. Patrick, what were you going to say?
Yeah, just a light introduction. Like, how's the desert travel out there?
And is this to like, do you interrupt the main conversation, or do you
just like when there's a lull to a random Italian troop?
Do you say this in English, or you say this in French? Like, what do you say this in?
Let's do French. Okay,
so you say it, and you have decent French. You have a 50 in French. So you've gotten pretty good at it. So I'll say you probably pass for somebody who's relatively fluent. So it's probably not alarming, because it's like you speak French with a believable accent to the point where they probably don't pick up on you not being French. And one of them will kind of look up at you and be like, I just can't shift into the Italian. It's so hard. They're so, Ludovico Tonici. What are you talking about? I'm getting water. Like, I can't do it. It's terrible. It's terrible. Book of the pepper. So he looks at you as you kind of stand next to him. It's like, we are getting water. Yeah. He kind of says it back to you, and sort of this. He mumbles something under his breath. It's Italian. Then he kind of rolls his eyes, and then he says it in French because he sees like you have no real reaction. And then he says it in like this bad French, but it's French nonetheless. It's like, which getting wanted. Why are you here?
Getting water. The same way he told it to me.
Okay. So there's like this, and all that is like you can see like he looks at you, and give me a test. Give me like a fast talk or a charm, anything like that, or persuade, any one of those. Whatever you think that you'd be doing, like, because I just want to see, like, do you come, or you could just do a straight up. No, yeah, do one of those. Do one of those.
Let me look for those. Fast talk is 5. Charm is 15. Persuade is 30. All right, that's a good one.
There you
Okay,
go.
persuade. It's just, do you come across like an asshole? Is basically what you're doing.
49. Yeah, it's been asshole-ish.
Okay. He gets up, and you can see like somebody else is just like talking and like, forget it. And like he gets up and he kind of gets in your face a little bit, and you can see he starts rattling off something in Italian. Does anyone here speak Italian? Anyone here have Italian as a language?
I don't think so.
Just rattling it off.
No.
He's like kind of like going and going and going and going, and you could tell no psychology role necessary. He's like, he took a little bit of offense to the tone that you took with him.
I like how Long said that he said it back to him the way he said it. So it definitely sounded like a mocking thing of like.
In Saturdays, Italians are bad. On Thursdays,
Thursdays.
Italians are good. And also bad. That's our serpentine. Okay. Will, how did you do on your roll?
I failed with a 70 over 60, so I spent the 10 luck points to turn it into a regular success.
You can tell everyone is tense. You can tell definitely while one is kind of tending to the water, the others are eyeing everybody as if they're kind of assessing. And they've not, and like a few of them have like, they have their rifles and everything, but none of them have kind of slung them back over their shoulders in a way that suggests a casualness. I would also say, Will, you passed, right? You got to pass. You notice that Jerome, your best friend now, is kind of staring at this other afar guide who is kind of recessed into the corner and is kind of behind a few of these soldiers. I mean, like the two of them are just locked. Their eyes are locked at each other right now. They're not saying anything. You just see them looking at each other.
Does it seem friendly or like tense?
You can give me a psych roll if you want while Will finishes what he was doing. Because that was Will who saw that, Bev. But you go ahead, Ash. You just jump in front of Steven. That's
Sorry.
fine.
No.
That's fine.
I was just trying to call it out for Steven.
I think it's a good idea to jump in front of Steven. Well,
so they're definitely like feeling cautious and alert. But does it look like they're like spreading out tactically or anything? Like, are they gearing up for a fight or just making sure that they're not taking?
It doesn't look like they're gearing up for a fight. It definitely looks like they're assessing whether or not you all are, are threatening. But it doesn't look like they are offensively doing anything.
Gotcha. Well, I kind of want to very slowly and casually, fly casual over to my good buddy Jerome.
Okay. You slip over to him.
I don't say anything to him because we don't talk much, but I just want to be near him.
It's so sweet. I didn't realize there was going to be a love story. It's amazing. It just feels safer next to him. It just exudes warmth. Okay. Bev, did you want to do a psych?
I would like to farm.
Okay.
14.
Oh, extreme success. Okay.
Nice.
You don't know this man well at all. And definitely attempts of communication that you've had with him and that you've seen Will have you've never felt the barrier more for communication than you've felt since you've tried to communicate with him, right? Mm-hmm. You're not sure the source of it necessarily, whether it's just intentional reticence or whether it's the multiple steps of communication, because it's like one language into another language into a third language, right? So like that kind of extra steps. But nonetheless, with your extreme success, you would hazard that Jerome has a concerned look on his face, and that concern seems to be directed at this other individual. Doesn't look like he's concerned, like as if that guy's a danger. He's concerned for him. It's like, yeah.
Okay.
It's like if you see somebody hurt, you know, that you know, and you kind of have a look on your face, like a look of worry. Like you definitely see that. Because you also would know that if this is a local member of one of the Afar tribes here, things have not been very smooth lately. That is an understatement of the year. So.
Okay, she won't say anything at this time, but like if they do travel with us and we get a like moment away, she'll bring it up with the group.
Okay. Anybody else?
Shyma's like visibly receding, like she's doing that
slouch
thing, but she does. Yeah.
I know.
She does let her eyes kind of travel over to Jean though and see what he's doing.
There are times in which he's extremely casual and friendly. You know, like all of them are really. They all have that kind of morose humor, like this kind of that people who serve, and especially in dangerous situations, right, in dangerous places. You have probably not seen him so alert, and so like he doesn't even look at you, and he's normally free with smiles and grins and jokes and laughter, but like for the first time, he looks like deadly, like he is fully engaged in this job right now.
Sure. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. So, as you all are looking, observing, feeling the pressure beginning to mount, the conversation that you've been overhearing between these two officers, right? The Italian officer says, so you are going to village. I'm curious, 3 trucks, that seems, of goods. What kind of goods are you delivering them? You see, like, Captain Moreau is like, we've got the usual, yes, some fabrics from Djibouti, some sorts, some basic medical supplies. Telling guys, no weapons. No weapons. No, not at all. Of course not. Because we have heard that there's a rumor that some people are perhaps delivering rifles, bullets, ammunition as a way of arming some of the resistance fighters around here. I heard just the other day that an Italian patrol was ambushed north of here with weapons that certainly didn't seem like something. He kind of looks back at his own guide. A local would have access to. No. Mon ami, that is not an issue. Oh, so you would not. We should be all right if we were to inspect your belongings to ensure that you're not carrying anything that we might find objectionable. And there's like a long pause and this long hesitation. Like Moreau is like kind of looking, and he kind of darts his eyes around to you guys. Do any of you like say anything? Do you react in any particular way? Because his supplies are fine, but some of you are carrying things like a cat that might be alert.
A cat? A cat is not a rifle. Just
you're carrying
deadly weapon.
Right,
you guys are carrying notebooks. You're carrying occult tomes and objects and all sorts of things like that. Some of you have notebooks, journals, things like that. So, do any of you do anything at this point to sort of
I haven't heard
convey?
weapons. And she's like, I don't have any weapons. And so it doesn't even occur to her to think about this stuff.
Okay.
So Marie is not opposed to if he's looking at us to say something.
He's checking your faces because they didn't expect your belongings. They respected you, but you were not fully. He did not fully explain to them what you were doing here.
Yeah.
So he doesn't necessarily know what they might find in your belongings.
Is there a role that I can do, or would I just know from the conversations we've been having over the last few days? Would it be an acceptable goal for travel for us to be doing something in the realm of research where we're going? Like, is this something that they would be okay or approve of?
Yeah, there's downspace. There's downtime.
Okay. Like, if I say that out loud, I don't want that to be a like, oh no, we definitely shouldn't be here to do research. That would be an awful thing, because then I won't say the word research. So that would kind of be her,
Okay.
Marie's angle of like, no, gentlemen, of course you will not find weapons of war on our belongings. Of course not. We seek to do research, and we have small items for research.
The officer, like, kind of his head slowly pans in your direction as you start talking, and he steps over to you. He has his hat off at this point, but he smooths his hair a little bit, and he says, I beg your pardon. I did not introduce myself. My name is Ulysses Finucci. And you are... Because what language did Marie say that in?
English.
Okay.
I've
First time that's been uttered in this scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm up to 8 French. Like, I'm not doing particularly well in French.
Okay. Royale with cheese.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. All right. So he comes over and he extends a hand, and he speaks in English back to you. And he extends a hand to introduce himself, because he like kind of slicks his hair over, sweaty and dusty, and then he kind of wipes his hand off on the side of his uniform, and he extends it.
And she'll do the kind of hand out, little curtsy-ish kind of.
He'll follow through and he'll kiss your hand a bit, and he said, "What is your accent? American?
Through and through."
I thought you were American. Yes. What is an American doing here with these gruffy, dirty Frenchmen? And you can tell, like, anyone who's near one of these nairs, like, they kind of stiffen a little bit, but then like Moreau's like a very kind of like diffusing laughter.
And she's her charming self, so of course that was such a funny joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Waiting for an answer.
It seemed unwise to travel without such escorts. Would that not be correct?
Of course. No, you are absolutely correct. These lands are very dangerous. Its people equally so. But and he kind of shakes a pity that you have reduced yourself to traveling with substandard. And he kind of looks around. Soldiers. Why Why did you not reach out to us here? We could have brought you into Maswa. We could have escorted you in your... And he's like waiting for you to answer with what you're doing.
Well, it certainly seems as if you are very, very busy, and we would hate to make you waste any of your time with those who do not deserve to be in your presence, of course.
What is the nature of your expedition here, if I might say so? And don't think that I did not notice that you did not say your name back to me. Is that just the American rudeness that we hear about? Or are you trying to hide something from me?
Oh, of course not. And she sort of like blushes a little bit. Oh, no, Marie Wynn. I am not ashamed of that name.
Miss Wynn. And what is it you are doing here in this God-forsaken place? A woman of your beauty and delicacy.
Well, now, good sir, I am in the presence of some women who are more intelligent than myself, who do
and they look around.
Just amazing research.
Yes. And he points over at like Bev. Yes, you are researching. Yes. Also American?
Yes. Pleasure to meet you.
Oh.
And she'll stand to shake hands.
And he'll like go through the same process as he did with Marie, introduces himself, says his name again, everything, the whole stuff. And what is it you are researching here in this place?
We're interested in the archaeological sites.
Archaeology. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Is there something in particular that you are headed to? Because
whatever we can find.
My friend, the Frenchman, said that you are trading. And now you're saying that you are researching.
Trading, but we're tagging along.
Of course, of course.
As I said, we should not be traveling alone, so we do two things at once.
What a wonderful opportunity, then, we have in front of us here. We, too, are very interested in the archaeological sites and foundations of this region. Perhaps we can say goodbye to your substandard escorts, and you could come with us, and we might research together.
Oh, but we've put so much money out already that would just... We have no such things for this.
Frenchman, how dare you? And he's just kind of looking over, and he's got this face. What the fuck are you doing, Marie? What the fuck are you doing? Kind of on, but he's got this grin on. And he's just kind of waiting. It's like, how utterly unheroic. Not very noble, you know. They say that we are the brutes, but we would never charge to escort lovely, brilliant women such as yourselves. I insist. Yes, we can make room. Can't we make room? Yes.
No. We've already settled in, and you clearly have such more important things that you are doing here. We will go about our business, and you will go about yours.
Well, what if our business is aligned? You are searching the lands here for the history buried beneath the sand and the rock, we too are curious as well. So, why not join our efforts? We have other archaeologists that we have in our employ. You would have other academics that you could discuss your findings with. Does that not sound enticing? Clearly, it must be a far better conversation than talking about dirt and mud and Frenchmen's mothers.
No, that was just, we would not want to put you out and you.
Oh,
and she's looking at most of them seem to be gun-carrying soldier.
Yeah,
types.
there's guns galore.
Like,
there's guns.
Like,
this is a powder keg.
Yeah,
I think we can take them.
No, they don't appear to be
geopolitical issues aside. You might. You outnumber them. You certainly do.
But they don't appear to have any archaeologists or anything like that in their.
It's just five Italian dudes in black uniforms and one local Afar guy. It looks like that. I would say Bev, but not Marie. Bev might wonder if he is here
willingly. Yeah. Why don't we stick with the original plan of you coming with us for the trade?
Oh, well. And you hear like Moreau just when you say that, oh, well, I suppose we could do that. And then when we arrive at this village where you are certainly not delivering weapons for use against Italian soldiers, then we could continue on together, and these fine fellows could return to wherever it is that you found them.
It certainly seems like that would be, just a absolute misuse of talent. You all appear to be hardy men who are here for far more. And she's like, I am struggling with how much I'm kissing their ass about you are here for far more valiant things than babysitting women digging, or basically trying to. That's the angle she's headed for. The words just aren't quite coming.
You can roll a charm, and I will tell you that the better you do, the better the result naturally. So
yes.
There's potential ways that this could go. Are any of you doing this? Doing anything else? Why Bev and Marie have inserted themselves into this conversation? I'll say, Shyma, since you specifically said you were shirking back, that they maybe didn't pull you into the conversation. Are the three of you doing anything?
Shyma assumes she's far enough back that I think she's not saying anything, but if anyone was paying any attention to her, they would see that she's kind of squaring up a little. Like she's instinctively kind of protective about Marie and now some of the French foreign legion people as well. Okay.
So you are taking an aggressive posture. Duly
but in the back and trying to keep quiet about it.
By back, but you're not hidden. It's just you weren't up front. Bev was there.
My point is, I'm sorry, Mel, but she's probably not helping.
Somehow send a message to Bev that maybe she can do some digging into this offer. Who they have, where they've been.
What does that look like or sound like? Guys, I don't think the two of you can telepathically connect.
Right.
You want me to bunt? What? So what does that look like or sound like, Patrick?
That's the problem that was going to come. Try to get her attention. Give it a little whisper.
Okay.
Like when she breaks off somehow. Yeah.
Give me a luck test as you lean forward. And as Marie takes the conversation back over, Bev drifts back a step, you move up a step, and you kind of whisper something. Give me a luck test first to see the mouth.
83.
So Marie starts talking, and all of a sudden, all of you hear.
Yeah. It's a bit sandy.
Okay. Marie, how did you
His
do?
IBS is flaring up.
Marie.
So I rolled a 76 under 84. I am willing to spend the 34 luck to get a hard success on the charm.
Okay. Go ahead and spend it.
If a hard would be
A hard
be
success
better
will
than a
definitely
regular,
have a better. He'll have a
I
better
will spend the 34
reaction
luck.
to that. So he is just like, oh well, you are not wrong. We do have very, very important work to do.
Indeed. And the moments of heroism that you would be missing out on, and the stories to be told of you for years to come, that you would be missing out on babysitting some skirts.
And he starts laughing. Oh, Miss Wynne, you make a wonderful point. In fact, we perhaps have spent a bit too much time here already. Well,
Could you perhaps put us in contact with your archaeological friends?
Well, I will tell you this. We are to be headed back northward here, certainly very soon. And if you find your way up towards Iron Point, seek us out there. Perhaps we will introduce you to some of our brains. But I believe we have lingered and dallied here too long, and I worry that I will smell too much like French perfume. And that's when they get ready to turn around. He kind of shouts out orders, and all of a sudden, and they jerk back, and you see all of them pull their guns up. And they like each one of them is kind of looking around. What was that? And I would say all of you know what it is. You know Patrick's got a mouth on his hand, on his wrist. And anyone who looks over and knows where to look, you can see like there's moisture that is bleeding through the layers in the athletic tape that Shyma has helped him with. And while the mouth isn't necessarily visible, you can see it's just beginning to grow the stain. And there's a yeah. And even the freaking French guys are kind of like looking around too, like what the hell is it? Like one of the Italian guys is like pointing down at the cistern and kind of leaning over top of it and looking in. What was that? Do you have some sort of animal here with you, Frenchman?
And Marie is going to attempt to Joy Boy to the rescue.
Okay. What does that look
We
like?
do have an animal with us.
You do.
We do actually
in fact.
have an animal.
Right as I said that, I realized I just teed her up.
I was thinking it anyway, but and I would say that she will kind of reach into her bag.
Gun immediately goes up at you and at the bag. And you hear guns come up as well as like French guys start moving guns around. And so now it's like this complex, like Mexican standoff, so to speak. Guns pointed at this guy, that pointed at that guy. And there is a gun on you right now from not the man who you've been speaking to, who has drawn out as like a pistol, but one of his others. And so there's like a rifle butt like right at your bag as you pull it up.
And so she's going to just kind of tweak his tail a little bit so that he'll.
God damn it. And so you see this little cat head stick up from the folds of your bag. There is a rifle barrel right in its face. And it just goes and like reaches out and kind of playfully swats at it. Unbelievable. Give me, holy crying out loud, Give me a persuasion test. As you are trying to convince them that this beautiful, cute little cat was the source of that sound.
And you hurt Joy Boy. You twisted his tail.
If you critically fail, you know what's going to happen. That trigger is going to get pulled. Joy Boy is not joyful anymore, and you get shot in the chest all at once.
Wouldn't be the first time she's been shot in the chest.
Because everyone dies. Go ahead. Give me a roll.
Oh, God. Okay. I did not critically fail.
Oh, dear. There's a butt coming, I think.
I rolled a 76 over 73. So I will spend the luck to succeed. Yes. So I started the day at 53 luck, and I am now down to 16.
Here we go. And you hear laughter like start to cackle through all of these different Italians. And then the man, Finucci, comes over. Mm-hmm. Miss Wynne, this is no place for such an adorable little creature. And he reaches out and kind of like ruffles the head, and he kind of leans down, and his like large nose, and just sort of like noses the cat, and the cat's like, and just caresses him a little bit, and he just giggles and laughs a bit. Okay, well, wasn't that very interesting? As he looks around, oh my, as all of these guns are drawn. Well, Miss Wynne, it's been a pleasure. And then he looks over at like Moreau, Frenchman, and then they start to slowly back their ways out. Will, you feel a hand on your wrist, and you look down and you see that Jerry has grabbed your wrist as the Italians are backing out, and you can see one of them steps to the side of their guide and essentially kind of forces him, not like hits him or anything like that, but just sort of motions, and like the guide definitely begrudgingly starts to move and fall in line as they leave out from this series of walls. But you can feel Jerry kind of grip your wrist for a moment.
Would I be able to call out to the Italians before they actually leave?
You absolutely could if you want to risk it. Yes.
I'm going to risk it. Sir,
They turn around and they shoot. And Will, your brains are on the side of the wall. Absolutely.
It's a risk you take. It's a risk you take.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apologies. I know you're leaving. Like they said, we are here to barter. And my name, I'm sorry, I should start with introductions. I'm Tom Ford. I'm not with the French. I'm actually, I'm essentially.
Are you speaking French or are you speaking English?
Yeah, French. Okay. Poorly. I mean, I'm American French, but yeah.
Okay.
Parlez-vous
français?
I'm a glorified bodyguard for Miss Wynne and the research team here, and we won't be with our French guard for some time. I was curious, would it be possible, would we be able to trade? Would we be able to use the services of your guide? For when we split off, we'll need our own guide.
Who is that man standing next to you?
He's with the French captain, unfortunately, and the French captain has been unwilling to part with his services.
Well, the French are very selfish. They care a lot about their belongings, don't they? However, I'm afraid to say our man Camille has he has too much value to our current operations. But I'm sure...
But only need him temporarily. It would be a week, 2 at most.
Mr. Ford, that is impossible. But your Frenchman here is bringing you to a village. I'm sure you will be able to find someone suitable there. Yes?
I understand. You were just being so gracious before. I had to ask. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
You are welcome, Mr. Ford. And he backs out, and you can see the other guide, Camille. He goes with them, and so they file out. Moments later, You hear the sounds of their engines kind of kicking up. Anyone looking out, you can see the dust starts to fly up and trail them as they start to drive away. And everyone kind of like, they let out this. And like Captain Bro like looks at the two of you. It's like, you need to be very careful in what you say. And then he kind of looks back to Will and like, you know better. What is wrong with you? You did not de-escalate. They were leaving. You don't.
And when he says you de-escalate, they're leaving. That's when Bev says that their guide Camille, he did not seem to be willingly with them.
Of course he was not. No fuck would ever willingly be with them. What is... We cannot... We cannot be seen to create the conflict. We are... No. We must remain... we must remain peaceful with our neighbors to the north. It is not... it is against our... I am sorry to say that there are only so many things that we can do. If you would like to travel across the desert and you want to do so in a way in which you stay safe, you do not do what you have just done. The next one will not be as affable as that one was.
Yeah, and she just kind of like nods and
he comes over to like Marie and he reaches out. Good kitty. And he pets the kitty. He starts to Everyone
perhaps
comes by. Jean comes by, pets the cat. Everyone else just comes by. Everyone's like petting the cat.
The true hero.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
Perhaps over our rest later, we can create a more hole-free cover for our next interrogation.
Just hope there are no more.
I don't want another.
Well, we are heading. The Italians don't push as far west as we are going, but it's just possible. He is not wrong, though. There are rebels here that we will need to contend with. Jerome will help us to a point, but sometimes not everyone here recognizes the difference between a Frenchman and an Italian, so we all have to be very careful, respectful, quiet. And he looks at like Will, quiet. Looks around. Okay, we must leave. There's no, it is possible they could return. There could be more nearby and they might come back as well. We are skipping our break. We are on. Let us go. And he kind of calls out orders as everyone kind of gets ready to go. As your midday break is kind of interrupted.
Marie will go over to Patrick.
Yeah.
You seem to still be struggling, Mr. Price.
It's that apparent. It's every day for me.
I'm sorry that this has been your life for the last month, but now we have rifles pointed at us when you get noisy. I do hope we're able to find what we need to find soon. And she just like, kind of mentally flashes back to like 5 minutes ago, like everyone's guns are pointed at each other. That is quite distressing.
If it doesn't work, will you amputate?
It's the last resort. I suppose so.
Can appreciate
I'm
your
assuming
reticence.
You're having this conversation out of earshot.
Yeah.
We're all moving back to the truck.
You're just standing right next to Jean. What the fuck are you
lined up
talking
petting
about?
the cat as you're talking about.
If this
Mutation?
does
What is
not
this?
work, can you please cut off his arm?
Okay. All right. So you guys load up back into your vehicles.
Yep.
Is anyone doing any? Okay. Anyone have any? If there are any beats, just call them out. You can interrupt. So if there's anything, just let me know. Otherwise, you get back into your vehicles and you begin traveling. I need everyone to go ahead as you're going to be traveling now through the hottest part of the day, as well, not entirely, as like you were there for a little bit, but got interrupted. Everyone go ahead and give me a heat test. So that means either a constitution test that needs a hard success or survival desert for Will. Patrick, you're unfortunately are going to be rolling this with a minus 10% to your roll.
Okay.
Marie rolled a 97 over 50.
Oh dear, that is super bad. Okay, and not
That
like
is
the movie.
very.
All right,
yeah.
Marie, we'll start with you. 90, you said, right? You can go ahead and move up to 97. Is it a critical? Oh no, it's an attribute test, right?
So that's what I'm trying to figure out because it's right at 50. So, like, I know a fumble is 96 to 100, but is 50 like the above or below cutoff?
Good question.
Because it's either
Good
50
question.
or
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
Maybe you come back to me and I will look that up.
Yeah, because that basically the difference would be: do you go up 1 or 2, essentially? So, so for you, so we're gonna say at least 1, but we can look it up later, and I can push you to the heat level 2. How'd Will do?
Sorry, I was looking up fumble rules.
No, you're good.
Did I get a plus 10% for having extra water?
No.
Oh, well, that sucks. I failed anyways. I was just trying to.
You guys have boosts and stuff. Don't forget, you could always tap into those if you want.
I used it last time. I was trying to actually level up. There
you go.
It would cost me 16 luck to pass. I think I'll just spend the luck.
Okay. Fair enough. Shyma, how did you do?
50 under 70, just a regular success.
Okay, so you would need to spend 15 luck to make that a pass.
Which I don't have.
Okay, so you're going to go up to, so you're at heat level 1.
Yeah.
And then Bev, how did you do?
25 over 50, hard success.
Perfect, right on the number, actually. Yeah, so you're good. You stay at heat level 0. Patrick, holy crap.
The dice finally turned in my favor.
Nice.
Give me a crit 1.
Crit success. Not only do you manage to keep your cool, the time that you spend here or the time that you spent in the vehicle, maybe you just find the perfect place to sit where you can kind of cool down a bit, the wind hitting you a bit. You can go ahead and reduce yourself down to 0. So your heat level. So just keep track of it somewhere, whether it's on your notes. And so, because it'll ebb and flow quite often. So don't worry too much about it. Okay. So if that's the case, you guys are able to travel for a little while longer. And you go for hours. You probably stop at one point just to kind of check the vehicles. But otherwise, you're moving across these long stretches of salt flats with cracked earth, these occasional sharp basalt ridges from time to time. Again, the wind is becoming more and more of an issue as once or twice, like you actually feel from the gusts, like on one side of maybe the vehicle that has the fewest amount of people in it, because we have kind of an odd number sitting at 11 in your party. So there's one that has fewer folks, and it kind of lifts up almost ever so slightly and then slams back down. You see like something fall out, some small bag kind of fall out, maybe like one of the trade goods you're bringing to sort of get your camels later on. You see it kind of just fall off. The next vehicle runs over top of it and ruins it before they have a chance to stop. But eventually, after sunset, you guys drive on for about an hour more. And who do we think would be sitting in the vehicle with Moreau up front? Like, so that one's going to have the Afar guide, Jerome. It's going to have Henri, the driver. It's going to have the captain as well. So there's basically room for like one other person. Is there any one of you who thinks that they would have taken that spot?
I'm not gunning for it.
I think it would be either Bev or Will, probably.
Because he loves me so much.
Someone make a call.
Well,
which one?
You've been wanting to be. I mean, it's the choice here because you've been wanting to be next to Jerome.
No,
yeah. Also, the captain is there.
I'll sit with the captain, and I'm being very quiet, but I am trying to like quietly communicate with Jerry whenever possible.
Okay. Do you mean just like exchanging glances or actually saying something to him?
Really trying to just draw out any Afar language I can learn. Like that's been my goal, is to just try and
You
pick
hear
up a couple
occasionally,
words.
like you'll hear a couple voices back and forth, like especially when there's like a slowdown and there's a choice of direction. There's no roads. Like you're really just driving on kind of flat terrain most of the time. Like around some of these little waypoints, you can see there's paths that go in different directions, but it's not like a road, right? And so you're often kind of just off-roading it effectively. And so there are times where you slow down. And so mostly it's just like a this way or that way, or like you think you might know the word for west or north, but it's really kind of hard for you to get any glimpse because he doesn't seem to be particularly chatty. However, you can roll a spot hidden if you would like, Will, since you're up there. And let me know how you do. As it's past sunset, and you guys drive for like about an hour more as like the horizon can still shoot up some light after the sun goes down it, enough for you all to not be too dangerous. But once it becomes fully dark, you guys do stop. You guys do need to take some rest. All of you are probably a little bit more tired than you were prior because you didn't have as long a rest in the middle of the day. How'd you do, Will?
I needed a 45 and I rolled a 45.
Wow.
So, Will, you are looking out the windshield, the front, and occasionally trying to like lean and listen in as like Jerome leans forward and says something either, to Louis, who then says it to the driver in French. You can see that you're on these open flats, and you can see the wind is very clearly whipping this dust across. It's kind of like almost tugging it to the ground. And even those of you that are like at a window and the window's open, you can almost hear like the wind hiss as it shoots the dust down through the cracks of the earth. And the trucks, especially once the sun comes down, move much slower. And they're moving over these like hardened ridges of this baked earth. And you can hear the crackling of that, of like the crust of that earth as the tires go over top of it. The moonlight as it comes up, the moon itself is much fuller than it was the night before. Not quite full moon, but fuller. And you can see like the salt lines are catching the moonlight here. It's like these uneven seams kind of cascade out in front of you. Will, you have the best view of it since like you're in the front car. But it almost looks like these veins or like scars across the surface of the desert. Those of you in the trucks behind, there's just like, as you look out, there's really no major changes on the horizon. Everything's kind of like flat. It's black sky, like kind of this, because of the nightfall, kind of this grayish plain. And then that's when you see it, Will. You see just off the path that you, or at least the direction that your vehicle is heading, like just off center, like in the passenger side of your vehicle, not in the center. You see up ahead, there is a figure that is moving alongside the direction you're going. And you're moving fairly slowly. So like, 20 miles an hour or something like that, right? And you see a figure, a person. You can't really make much out other than like this dark silhouette, but they're actively moving in what looks like the same general direction that you are going. And you catch it as like Moreau, his head is back and he's talking to Jerome and he's translating to Henri as they're trying to find a place to sort of pull in for the night, right? Another one of those little ravines. And you're the one who sees it. What do you do when you see this figure?
Immediately, Captain, movement off on that ridge. I give the directions.
And he looks forward, and it's right off the side, like the direction you were traveling. If you kept going, if you didn't say something, he would have slammed into the passenger side of the truck, basically. But you stop, and you screech, maybe about 20 feet short of the figure. Each one of you in the trucks behind, same thing happens, screech, screech. Will, as the vehicle comes to a close, comes to a stop, you can see that the figure is like limping. They're barefoot. You can see, similar to Jerry, they're like, as they're walking, you can see like they don't seem to have boots or anything like that. They're just kind of wrapped around their feet. And they don't seem to respond to the sudden appearance of the vehicle, but they are limping. And the wind that had been throwing a lot of the dust and the grit and the debris around on the plains, you can see it's just pulling violently on the road, like it's like clinging to it and then flapping off. But they don't seem to flinch. They're just kind of limping and moving. What do you do?
Captain, can I provide them aid? You keep your men safe?
But, make it quick. Be careful.
I jump out of the car and I jog over.
Okay. The rest of you in the other vehicles, you see Will get out from the back seat of his vehicle. And you see, as you lean forward, you can see now what he is going towards. There seems to be someone walking alongside this path. And I want to stress, as far as you can tell, you are in the absolute middle of like nowhere, essentially. Like there's just flat plain in all directions. There's a star, moonlit sky, but there's like nothing. It's just occasional chunks of rock, a ridge line here or there. And there is this person walking in the same vague direction that you're moving. And you see Will get out and start moving up towards it. Do you guys do anything?
Shyma's gonna call. Will? Do you need help?
I wouldn't necessarily respond to Shyma. I would call out in French towards the person walking. Hello, can I help?
They keep moving.
Presumably I hear that.
Sure.
And I'd like to follow.
You get out and you hear like someone, like maybe you're in Dubois' vehicle and he's like, no, and you slam the door and you didn't let him finish as you follow up on Will. Bev or Patrick or Marie?
I'll step out, see if I can get a view of what's happening.
Okay. You come around and you see again Will and Shyma catching up to him, and then this figure, these black robes, the wind whipping. And as anyone who steps out, you're just feeling the wind just pelt you like it, I know we joked about it before with Will, but it's seriously happening. You're just kind of getting hit with like this grit that just scrapes against your skin. You have to quickly like kind of, if any of you have took the note of the locals and bought like these little scarves or saris like around your shoulders, you kind of wrap them up a little bit to kind of cover your face a bit, as it's that bad. You almost like, and any of you that are light like Marie, if you're I know you're fairly thin and light, like you get out, you have to kind of steady yourself as a heavy gust comes through. You hear this hiss or whistle on it as it comes through, and you look down and you just see the silt and the dirt kind of shifting through some of the veins in the ground. Bev, do you stay in the car?
She'll kind of lean out because she's still on high alert from our interactions with the Italians. So she's looking to see if there's more people around as well that she needs to watch out for Will's back.
Give me a spot hidden.
Doing the same.
Yeah, both of you can give me a spot hidden. If you're staying in the vehicles, it's fine. Give me a spot hidden. But Patrick and Will and Shyma, and you start to hear the doors slam as obviously the Legionnaires are going to get out. They got their guns and everything. And you can hear the sounds of Pierre is coming up. He's like their medic. You've learned has the guy who kind of touches up when people have injuries. As he kind of comes up and he's following behind Will. Will, you are there first though. And so what you see is a man of indeterminate age, definitely looks older than Jerome would. It's hard for you to assess that the light is not perfect, but it is what he's wearing is definitely ragged and dark, black and gray, you think. It looks like one of his legs, his left leg, is what's kind of bearing the limp. He doesn't stop, but he's moving so slow that it's not at all difficult for any of you to catch up to him. And if you like move up alongside and step in front of him, you can see that like he's got a beard of sorts. It's patchy and it's irregular in terms of its growth. In places it seems like it's thicker, and other places it's thin. Give me like a first aid test, maybe, or
Will's
medicine.
pretty good at first aid.
Yeah, either of those are fine. And I'll say this, Shyma, you kind of catch up. Patrick, if you want to be there, you can as well, since you stepped out.
I have a 30 in first aid. May I support?
Sure. Let me know how you do. What?
I have a 70 in first aid.
Oh,
I rolled a 37. I will spend the 2 points to make it a hard success.
Okay. All right. So you are there. Shyma's there. You can see like Pierre joins you. He's got like a little medical kit with him since you specifically asked for permission to lend him some sort of medical aid. You notice immediately the reason why he is limping as you look down at his left foot, and you see that is basically missing all of his toes. Severe, like you can definitely tell, like there might be like 1 or 2 nubs remaining, but you don't see any fully grown toe on his left foot, and the foot itself looks to largely be intact, like the heel, the arch, etc. But the wrappings themselves, you can tell, are like they're kind of moist in some ways. You would also notice, and I would say, Shyma, you would see this too, as you move around him, you can see one of his ears is been completely severed, and there's scar tissue that has grown over it.
I would try to gently but forcefully like grab his arm and try to like guide him to like sit down. And I would be talking to him saying, let me bandage that. Let me help you.
Okay. You grab the arm and like you start saying, go through different languages, et cetera, et cetera. You're not sure if you recognize anything, but when you grab his arm, and even if you do it gently, you can feel like the skin as you manage to grab a part of his arm that isn't fully covered by wrappings is scarred significantly. Like you can feel this texture to it. You don't even feel hair on his arm. And you kind of turn him around and he looks at you. You can see he's missing a few teeth. One of his eyes is cloudy, but he's got scars on his face as well. And he looks at you with this sort of dumbfounded look, like you can't tell if he fully understands anything you're saying, but it's very, it has a lack of any real emotion to it. But he doesn't fight you as you ease him down.
As Will's doing this, I'm like immediately grabbing for like water and like unscrewing the top and like pushing it at him. And specifically in this moment, like she kind of forgets she has her stuff and
you just take Will's.
Doesn't bother hiding it.
Take one of
water. I'm running out.
Next canteen.
Pulls one of his canteens and unscrew it, and he takes it because that's what that means. But you help him, and you can see a little bit of it dribbles down as it doesn't get all the way in. He reaches a hand up, and that's when you both notice that his hand is missing 3 fingers. His thumb is there, his middle finger is there, and you can see his pinky is there, but his index and his ring finger have been severed. The ring finger seems to have been severed at the middle knuckle, the index finger all the way down to the nub. So it's like flat against the hand. And he holds it up and he drinks.
I'm going to exclaim because I really don't think I should be able to keep this reaction to myself. Like, Willie's so hurt.
Sir, Jerome, perhaps you could speak to him, understand what he's saying?
You call out and you turn around and you realize Jerome never got out of the vehicle. You can see everybody else, with the exception of Marie and Bev, are out. Some of them are just standing next to a vehicle, but everybody else is out. He hasn't gotten out of his vehicle. So you call out.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
He says, yes, of course. Yes, he's suffered severely. There are many reasons why he would have these scars. This is not extraordinarily uncommon. It is peculiar that he is out here all by himself. That is uncommon. They normally would Drones people would move in no magic, yes, but they would move in groups and tribes, and someone on their own is not safe. The jackals or the hyenas or the heat itself will get him. Didn't see
Have
any.
you seen his clothing before? Do you recognize it?
No, it is just. I mean, I've seen others with dark clothes before. It's just not a common choice, but no, I'm sorry, it does not look familiar.
As I'm going through and like bandaging these wounds, trying to pour some water and clean them off as best I can, would I be able to recognize any idea of like what could have caused them? Do they look like clean cuts? Do they look like they were gnawed upon?
Give me a medicine test for that.
That doesn't count for my hard first aid.
Well, first aid's for treating him. Medicine is if you're trying to
I got a hard
diagnose,
success,
which meant that you would be able to treat him in a very nice way. And plus,
I have a medicine
I'll
of
tell you
one.
what, I'll
We'll
tell you
roll
what.
it, and maybe I'll get lucky.
I'll tell you what, you can roll medicine with a bonus die.
With a bonus die. Okay. Grab my lolly die here.
You shake it up, ruin
Didn't
the
matter.
microphone.
65.
Remember, we used to do it all the time when people would like, when we do the podcast early in the days, you'd get their thirst, you shake it up. I'm like, you're just destroying audio right now. But thank you. Just awful. We can't hear anything anyone's saying because you just decided to play, what is it? It goes the Makarachi. What are those? The Makarachis?
Maracas.
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 That's it.
Will, you can't determine specifically what caused him. What I will say this is with your hard success in the first aid, you don't suspect that these are recent injuries. They all look, it doesn't look like he has had a wound specifically. His feet, you can tell, like if you unwrap his feet, which he will let you do, he will kind of stare at you while you do it though, like with kind of almost a grin on his face. Like you could say his face is kind of odd to look at. It's missing a few teeth, and he's got and it's kind of hanging open in a way. Like the mouth is just kind of hanging open, and like you see he's like whatever it is you're doing is of interest, right? And you notice like some of the cloth and such is there's a few abrasions, but none of the missing toes or the missing fingers or the missing ear or the scar tissue on his arm, none of it looks recent. Like none of it looks like it's still healing. It's like it's healed over. So that's what you would get from your hard success.
After, and this might take a bit, so other people might be doing things. After I finish like bandaging whatever looks like it needs to be bandaged, I would like to he doesn't seem to be fighting me on anything. He's not saying anything to me. I'd like to search him for any other wounds that might be under his clothing. Like I know he's got scar tissue on his arms and stuff. Just make sure that there's nothing we don't see.
Okay. I'll roll over your first. We don't need to keep rolling it. You definitely find more. You definitely find other cuts. You definitely it doesn't look like any of these are burns. All of them look to some degree like they are blades, piercings, that sort of thing. Cuts of some kind, slashes, stabs.
Right. None
Sir,
of them have any appearance of like predator bite marks or anything. Like they all look.
You can roll a
More
medicine
weapons?
test as well, Shyma. if
I
you would
just
like
have
to.
the one of medicine, so fucking.
Yeah.
She's just asking Will.
Sure.
These days, you never took a biology class or anything, an anatomy class when you were at
Apparently
the time?
not.
Ridiculous.
No, I
Nothing
got an
obvious.
80 and
Nothing obvious. It's also very dark too, so it's not as easy to see. Okay. So while you guys are working on him, Bev Marie, you had rolled some tests for me. What did you roll?
I rolled spot hidden. I got an 83 over 64. I spent 19 luck for a regular success.
Wow. Okay. And then Marie.
I rolled a 19 under 72 for a hard success.
Nice.
Okay. Bev with the okay. So you got a regular. Marie, you have a heart. Okay.
Yeah.
Both of you, as you look out in all directions, are quite confident that there is nobody else out there. You don't see any vehicles. You don't see any people. There's no signs of the Italian trucks from hours ago. You don't even think you see animals of any kind. Like you don't see any jackals or hyenas, which you've been warned about, but you don't see any of them. But one of the things that you certainly see is the wind and the grit and the debris. Like it is kicking up, like severely, and you can see that it's visible on the horizon. And you can see like this, like it's just swirling around. And you can see almost like a little funnel begin to form here and there. And then and you just see like this huge chunk of like salt and grit just get thrown against the side of one of these trucks. And you hear the sounds of almost like hail pelting against it. And you see once more the truck kind of goes up a little bit. That is all you really see that alarms you. And everyone who's standing out there, you're feeling it. You're kind of getting pelted and like you feel you're having to steady yourself. Like if you're on the ground, you're a little bit better. But if you're standing, like the wind is so heavy that it kind of makes you lose your footing to some degree. And you always kind of hear like this whistling on it in some way. This like the hiss of everything grinding through like some of the rivets in the earth. Patrick, you were standing. You're outside. You weren't doing what Marie and Bev were doing. You weren't doing what Will and Shyma were doing. Was there anything additional that you were doing?
I didn't really have anything particular. I was just making sure everything was all right.
Okay. All right. So, Will, Shyma, and then with Pierre, the three of you, like he looks maybe malnourished. For sure. You didn't notice him carrying any water. Like he doesn't have anything. But he doesn't have any active wounds, but he is certainly kind of like he'll die out here if he stays out here effectively.
When
tomorrow,
Shyma gave him the water, did he sort of like react like someone who's kind of been looking for water and like what's her desperation in the way he drank it? I guess.
You give me a psychology test.
Okay.
And I would say I would want a hard success on this.
That makes sense.
Not to get anything valuable anyway.
42 under 81, so just a regular.
2.
1 point of luck though would get you there.
Oh, 1 point? Okay, cool. Thanks.
Or 2.
I'm so
2,
glad
sorry.
you guys are better at math than I am.
As I got the number wrong.
There's a calmness to it. He's not desperate.
Okay.
He's definitely not desperate. There's like it's somewhat unsettling just how kind of calm he is. Like there's like no desperation. He's not wincing. Like there's 3 different people poking at him, like looking at his wounds and like cleaning him up, and like he just is kind of sitting there. And a couple times he's just kind of staring at Will, and like you can just see he's just kind of looking with his teeth missing, but he's still got like this curious grin on his face.
Yeah. And knowing that he didn't reply to Will, like, she's not expecting anything, but she is going to kind of pat her neck and be like, "Can you speak, sir? Can you speak?" And she'll try that English and in French.
And you start making noise, speaking. He looks up at you. No clear recognition as that you can tell. The whole while, like Captain Moreau is like, you hear him like, "Let's move on with this command. I don't want to be out here exposed." He's like, kind of like, let's go. You can put him in a truck. We can go. We can take care of him. I don't want to be out here for too much longer.
Yeah, Shyma, we gotta get out of the storm. Can you help me?
Absolutely, I can help you carry him.
And we try to get him in the truck.
And so you kind of get him in the truck. You go up to the first one, and as you open the door to kind of escort him into the back seat where you were sitting, Will, you can see like Jerome grabs the door and pulls it closed before you're able to get it all the way open.
Next truck. We don't have time.
Yeah.
Move to the next truck. We'll say this is the one where maybe Marie and Bev were in. The door opens up, and like Marie, maybe you get out, and then he slides in and just sits down, and he allows himself to be moved here and there, and that's no problem.
I would want to go back to my seat in the first truck, so I can ask questions to another person who also doesn't talk to me.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay with those two.
There's no more room in that truck for you
Okay.
to stay with him, Shyma. If we're
And
saying
Shyma-
Marie and Bev were in there, yeah.
Yeah, I think either Marie or Bev would give up their
Would
seat for
move,
Shyma
yeah.
to.
Okay. So you rotate around a bit, no problem. And the caravan moves on. Wind continuing to assault the sides of the vehicles. You eventually do find another one of those wadis. I think I'm pronouncing it right. And you drive down into it. You kind of go through the same process the whole time. The wind is it just won't stop. Like every time you try to run those kind of tarps up or set up a tent or anything like that, it just kind of gets blown away. A few of you, like they say, crawl underneath the trucks and things like that. Eventually you do get your camp set up, but it is certainly a difficult task. So you start falling asleep, eating, drinking, everything kind of reverts back into this normal state. He happily takes food, happily takes water, doesn't seem like he'll eat. Jerome keeps his distance the whole time. As you start to kind of fall asleep, Bev, I'm going to roll something for you that you do. What's your
say he was
POW?
going to target you today?
My
What's your
POW
POW?
is 60.
Okay. Bev, at a certain point, you're like, you just sort of hear a sound. It sounds familiar. You can't quite place it. It sounds like this sudden expulsion of air, like somebody's like, it's like a gasp for air in some way. You look around the camp. It's dark. Sun's not up yet. People are retreated to their mats. They're sleeping. The wind is still just going crazy. But you hear again.
She's going to try and follow it to see who's breathing like that.
You start walking kind of deeper into this ravine.
Oh, it's
And-
outside the ravine?
No, like deeper into it. Like so basically the way I'm picturing it, like you've got the ravine, you guys drive the vehicles down into it, and then you put like these tarps over top and you kind of protect yourselves from the elements. And so and then you back the trucks back out in the morning and you drive around. So you kind of hear it down a little bit further into the ravine, not very far. It's very loud. And it's actually kind of surprising that no one else is alerted to it. As you walk past them, you just see like Will a few feet away from like Jerome. You see like the French Legion guys, a few of them are like just leaning against a rock wall. But it's never them. It's not them. And then you kind of look around this outcropping, this basalt outcropping, and you see this large shape. It's like this huge shadow, and then you hear it again. And it's not the shadow that seems to be making it, but it's kind of whatever is behind, like on the other side of that outcropping. And I'm assuming maybe you have like a flashlight. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Probably have something like that. You kind of flash around and you can see like the shadows. You shine out of the shadow. It's just like this furry creature of some kind, but it's enormous. And you've been told of like jackals, you've been told of hyenas, right? These are like the things, like just they're scavenger animals. Just like make a lot of noise, scare them away. And as long as you stay with everybody, you're probably fine. But this thing's huge and it looks familiar. And then as you peek around, you see pinned up against the rock is Viola, your former student. And you see that this is some kind of bear or something like a bear, but it's chewing and like just kind of grinding down into her. And every time you hear the crunch of the bite, it's followed by as like it just eats away at her air. And that's when you see like it's not like a bear head that's biting down into her, but you just see this massive maw on the side of its shoulder. And that's what's biting and chomping at her. And then the head does move now and it sees the light. And you can just see like where its face is, where its eyes are supposed to be, where its mouth is supposed to be. You just see this kind of twisting, toothy, sphincter-like mouth that suddenly like opens. And that's where we're going to end for tonight.
No one wants to see a sphincter-like mouth. Let's
I
just
figure we should end on the sphincter mouth because some
For
people end
sure.
on cliffies. We end on sphincters with mouths, with a teeth out of them.
Oh,
Okay.
goodness.
All right. There we go.
Oh, boy.
Staying on 3 hours. Look at that.
My
Nailed it.
goodness.
Okay.
Wow.
You guys are doing great. You guys did not cause World War II earlier than it was supposed to happen. Just kidding.
Oh, man.
It'd only be a
Oh,
couple
that was
years.
close.
Guys saved an old man. Good times. All right. Let's do some closing plugs and then we'll get out of here. Steven, shut up. Maitreyi, talk. Where do we find you on the internet?
I am MySpace Games on YouTube, where I make system agnostic or multi-system content about tabletops that center the GM and player experience.
Fantastic. Links are always in the notes, so go ahead and check them in the description of the episode or whatever it is that you're listening to or watching. You'll find it down there. Steven, sir, tell us about you.
Yeah, I made a tabletop RPG called Huckleberry. It's a Weird West game. If you like action horror, you're going to love it. HuckleberryRPG.com has all the links. We just released a quick start that is free. It's got the vast majority of the rules. It's still very pretty to look at. Definitely worth picking up on DriveThruRPG. And this person right next to me, Jeff, has volunteered to run this in a special bonus section.
Volunteer.
So he's very gracious. He's going to run the quick start scenario for us in a one shot coming up here soon. So pay attention and you'll get to see it in action.
Yep, I am going to do that. That is
Wow.
Is this the first
that
time
is
you've
what
heard
has
of
been
this, Jeff?
said. Oh no, there have been discussions. There have been discussions. Okay. As for us, next stream is going to be Tuesday, as we're in a kind of a lull right now for Monday, but Tuesday we'll be back with more Perils and Princesses. Thursday we've got Swords of the Serpentine. We just started up our new chapter where things got crazy. Well, actually it was a pretty nice episode, and then kind of things got weird at the end. Friday next week is a Magnus Archives week where Steven isn't going to, shirk his GM responsibilities and is actually going to run us through Magnus Archives. And then Saturday next week, we get
Maitreyi said she was going to run next week, though.
Sphincter mouths.
What?
We're going to go ahead and raid Dead Aussie Gamer. They're playing some Pathfinder, it looks like. Plus, he's got a cool hat on. So we're gonna choose the hat thing. And that's that. So that's it for us. Have a great Easter night. Have a great Easter weekend. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Happy seeing you.